Good morning, traders. How we doing out there? Who's ready to get back to it? Well, I'll tell you what, guys. It's another market day, and today we are seeing what Netflix come in overnight with some earnings. We got, of course, United Airlines and the Trump rally. That's what I'm calling it at the end of the day. And can the Trump rally continue? We got some supporting details in the AI, SoftBank and Oracle coming together, and OpenAI being mentioned out there. So a lot going on, of course, in the AI space. We'll talk all about that. We'll take a look at different trades. We'll take a look at the playbook, the sunrise report, what stocks are moving, what earnings came in today. A lot of shakeup there. We'll take a look at different stocks there, and we'll look to see, can we make some money today? Right? Balancing act yesterday. I took a red day, but I know that Michael and Steve had a good green day. We'll continue to battle. Last week, I was green every single day. Well, let's see if I can bounce back today, right? Like always, guys, there's not only one way in the market. We're going to keep trading and see what we can find today. Let's get right to the action. We'll take a look at the playbooks to kick things off. And like always, guys, let me know if there's a trade that you guys are watching in the market today. Let's kick things off. Let's get into today's playbook. All right, team, let's take a look at today's playbook. We'll take a look at different stocks in the market today. Like always, guys, we'll see what we can find here. Meta was one of my calls from yesterday, so I'm going to keep it out there just to mention. It didn't break the trend line here, but it's a nice little setup, so keep your eyes on that. Let's get to the ones for today, guys, and like always, you guys can catch these on our Twitter. If you're not following our Twitter, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? Don't want to miss out that. All right, guys, I'm going to start in an area that is hot right now, CCJ, which is, of course, going into the metals and minerals. And you can see right here, a nice recent cross on the MACD. That's going to be a good outlook as we start to get things to go higher. And if you look at it on the weekly, we've been down here before around this 50, now starting to really get going. I'm looking for a potential run, eventually getting to 60. And right now we're at the 55 resistance. Let's see if we can break this, start climbing back towards 58 and 60. And I'll be looking to see what's going on here, right? Nuclear energy, of course, remaining a strong theme, tied with the growth of AI infrastructure. Key level to watch there is the 55, but there's other plays you can watch also. Valet, also with a MACD crossover, now starting to work its way back. And look at the decline that Valet has had. So it's a nice little stock that could have an overpressured, like kind of oversold territory and start to get that bounce back. We'll see what happens there. And there's some other names, right? Uranium names, or you can just look at the URA, which is a uranium ETF. They're all looking pretty good there. We'll see if these mineral plays continue to move. As NNE, guys, it had a really good day on Friday action. And forget that. Look at yesterday's action. This is one of my biggest miss from yesterday. I will say that I did not trade this yesterday. It was on the radar, but by the time I looked at it, it was already up about $1. Well, that didn't matter, right? Because they're getting that 26 to 27 run. That was nothing compared to the run it went to yesterday, all the way up there to 33. Take a look at the action on the 15-minute. It's just strong action on there. And I still got the pullback back towards $26. It went down to like 26.33 after Fort's opening breakout through the 27.64. So good look there on NNE. I'll continue to watch SMR and different names here. There was GEV that reported not the best earnings, so keep your eyes to see how GEV performs today, but that's been the best of breed here with GE Vernova. All right, let's keep it going. Let's go to the next one on today's playbook, guys. Like always, smash the like and let me know what you guys think of these stocks on the playbook. And if you guys have any stock that's on your playbook out there. Like always, guys, we're here to catch those stocks and we can go over them. And like always, you guys can hit me up on Twitter. Let me know what you want added to the playbook. If you guys see a play, a chart maybe, just at Trade the Pool. Of course, include Money Mitch to let them know, hey, this is a chart that I want to take a little deeper dive into. I want you guys tagging Trade the Pool with stock charts to let us know that you guys want deeper coverage on these stocks. This is a great way to go ahead and get that done. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's go to the next one here, guys. So I'm looking around into different spaces this day, and of course, yesterday we got a great number coming in from Netflix. So what about Disney? I'm actually looking at Disney as a long here. I know that some people are looking at this like it's going to come right back down. It did get a nice little pop off of the earnings from Netflix. It's up about, let's say, right now it's only about 1%, right? But it did get a nice little lift yesterday. What I like about this Disney trade is that I was looking for this to kind of fill the gap completely. It never came down there, never even went back to the 105. It came into the gap, but now could actually break back above this support. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. Can you break back above this support and start to hold it? So we're right above it right now, around the 110. Pullbacks to 109 will be very important for me to see that hold today. We could get a slight touch on the 109 and then a push right back up. So that's kind of the area that I'd be watching. That 109, if it gives up really and it's back at 106, yeah, you know it's giving it up. But it could be a nice little day to get it back towards 111 and 112 and start making this look like it wants to go for a 115 push. Of course, you guys can draw a trend line also from the high action and just kind of draw that over across these wicks. And I'm looking for a touch up to there. That'd be up there towards 111.80s or 112 today. We'll see what happens there in Disney. Another thing to point at in Disney is the MACD starting to get crossed. It's not crossed just yet. So I'm going to put a circle here so that we can go back to it once we see that cross happen. All right, let's go to another one here. Let's go to Qualcomm, as this is one that I talked about yesterday, how it could start to break outside of this kind of trend line. And now you got that. Now you got that break outside of it. Now it gives you the potential to make this run back towards 170 and 180. I don't think this is a bad one. You got the MACD cross right at the bottom here, and then you got a couple of kind of like flips, right, where you crossed up here, you crossed down here, you crossed up, you pulled back, you bounced off of it, and now you're actually starting to expand away from the yellow line. That's good action there. I'd look for maybe pullbacks to the 165.20, which is the 200 moving average to hold. After that, it could start taking 170 and the 180. So at this point, I'll be looking to see what happens there. Good looking action. And I think that you got to continue to watch the semiconductor space. There's a couple of these that have been doing really well. AVGO doing really well. Micron doing really well. Marvell doing really well, right? And then, of course, we've been taking a look at different ones in this space. So we'll look to see if some other semiconductor names can keep pushing. ARM is one that's moving with Qualcomm, and it's very similar, right? Outside of this kind of descending triangle, now starting to push higher. Really good day yesterday, man. This thing had a hell of a day, almost 6% day. So we'll look to see if it pulls back or does it have a day two move. One thing's for certain, ARM, I remember when this IPO'd at 50, and a lot of people were like, well, this is one of the best stocks out there, right? I mean, at the end of the day, is this evaluation correct, right? Well, you guys can see it. It's now 163. So this is definitely one of those stocks that I'll be looking back and being like, man, should have taken the investment approach, right? Because definitely we got to see what's going on here with ARM. If it's going to break that 170, maybe the high there, 200. We'll see. This is an interesting stock to take a look at. All right, let's keep it going. We'll see what else is out there and what else we can find. Let's see here. Let's get out of the the playbook. We'll get to the sunrise report coming up next. We'll take a look at the overall market today and see how higher we are. We're above towards 606, so really strong move. I remember when we were down here and we started to call maybe we'd get the turn. Well, it's been a hell of a turn, almost 5% in about what now 8 bars. So 8 trading days, getting a big move there in the spot. All right, guys, let's keep it going. We'll see what else is out there. I'm seeing some small stocks making a move right now. Let's take a look here. RZLV getting a little bit of a push there. Resolve AI Limited already there, getting the spike off of the 325s, now up there to the 350s. So good little spike right there. That's already an 8% move there. We'll see what happens if it starts to slow down, but good little push there off the $3. It pulled back there right before it, 312, now up there to the 350. All right, let's keep it going, guys. We'll see what else is out there. All right, we'll see what else is out there, but definitely let's keep it pushing, guys. We'll see what else we got, and we'll see what we can come up with, right? Definitely excited to see what I can come up with today in Resolve. Sorry, I got that. I got a little message there. Got a little sidetracked. But we'll see if we can catch some of these runners. Yesterday, I caught CHRO, which was a big move there. It was a nice little breakout above 3. It's already back down to 270, so we'll look to see if we get to $3 today, back up there. All right, and I'll be still looking to try to nail some of these smaller ones. Of course, I got the smaller account that made a pretty good move yesterday, about $200 up. So nothing crazy, but need to keep pushing that small limited account. And then, of course, on my main account, took like about a $200 hit yesterday, just a little bit under. I'm at 155. Just need to keep pushing there and seeing what I can come up with. AMD was probably my best call yesterday. Definitely should have been able to play this one. A little upset that I did not play it yesterday, and it didn't make a crazy move to the upside. So that gives us the potential to still play it today. But it was a nice little 122 hourly support coming into play, then recovered 122, going up there towards the resistance, broke the 123.66, pulled back, and now it's starting to do the same, right? And so we've had this really nice trend now in AMD. Now the question is, can it keep going? And can it have a big day? Can it have a day where it has a big green day? It still hasn't had that yet. So we could play a little bit of chop. We'll find out what happens there in advanced micro devices. All right, let's keep pushing, guys. We got a lot to take a look at, and we'll keep pushing, guys. We'll keep pushing. There's a lot more for us today. And I'll see what I can find up in the market right now. Let's go towards different action here. The SPY now towards 606. We'll talk about some earnings stocks coming up here in the Sunrise report. We'll get to that in just about 5 minutes here. A lot of stocks, though, coming in today, right? I mean, I could pull up the Benzinga Pro and we could go through all the earnings reports, but it's a big move there. Led, of course, by the Netflix action. So we'll get to that in just a second here. Let's take a look to see if there's any other penny stocks that are kind of getting the lift here that we can maybe play. ASST just pulled back from the 175, now down towards the 125. Just put in a nice bullish engulfing candle there. Let's take a look at this chart, see if I can maybe play one of these smaller names right before the bell here. Up about 184 on this account. Let's switch it over here. ASST was just up there to 130, 170s. Now it's trying to get going again here. Let me take a look here. Nice little pop there off the 120s. We'll look to see if it holds this kind of 130 pullback and then starts to get going right back up, right? So nice little action that first happened on this. This was the yesterday's stock that broke back above this level, then re-cleared back above it. You can see it broke it, came back, held it, now pushed off of it. So now I'd look to see if this is actually holding as a support, right? So can this hold as support? Yeah, it can. We'll see if it holds kind of like a 130, 125 touch right now. Does not break this 123, because if it breaks this 123 or 122, I'd feel like that's it. It starts to let go and probably back down below $1. So remember that stocks that go above $1 have a tendency of coming right back down below $1. So overall, this doesn't look too bad on the daily, but it could easily just do these pops and drops right back down, especially when the stock was 46 cents like a week ago. Right. So we'll see what happens there. It's at 131, trying to hold the pullback right now, trying to get that next push. We'll see it. This is going to be a big spot there if it can hold that 130 and get back towards, let's say, 145. All right, this is probably not one that I'll be trading right now. It just doesn't seem like the best setup. MDAI, another AI trade, though. I keep seeing these trades show up all over the place here. This one's not looking too bad. A nice little drive, a pullback, now driving back. It could start making a move to 3 here. We'll see what happens there. 250s just got a little bit of a spike here. It's a nice looking pattern, too. Also in the 15-minute, you can see how you passed above that. Now you're trying to reclaim that, start to reload there. Definitely back through the 240s. We'll be looking decent there. 239s holding right now. We'll look to see if it gets back through the 250. All right, guys, looking around out there, trying to find some good trades in the market right now. And like always, we just got to keep pushing, right? Seeing what we can find in the market. Let's go ahead. I see some other names coming in here. And you guys, say hello in the chat. What stocks are you guys looking for today? We got some, of course, a nice little watch list. What we got here? Rocket countdown. Let's go. Let's go, Pedro. Is that Pedro? I think it was Pedro in the chat. What's up with Jorge? What's up with my man Jorge? Calling you guys out. Mustafa, where you at? It's good to see you guys out there. Say hello if you guys are new to the show. Just got a couple of guys here. Do me the favor. Smash the like so we can get some more traders in here. Let's keep it going. Let's see what else we can find in the market this morning. Let's head over now to the Sunrise Report and run through that and see what's going on in the market this morning. All right, first up, of course, let's talk a little bit about tariffs, tech, and AI investment. We can pull this up with Oracle. That's the stock that I'd be focusing on here because it did get the lift off of this, and you guys can see that overnight action. And traders are keeping a close eye on Washington after Donald Trump hinted at 10% tariffs on China starting as soon as February 1st. The big news, of course, that Trump unveiled Stargate, a $500 billion AI infrastructure investment in partnership with OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank. So shares of Oracle here were jumping about 4% in the extended hours on the announcement. We'll have to see what happens with this. Can it keep going? Can it really just continue the push? I'll tell you one thing. It tells you to take a look into the software space because that could be getting that nice little push. So today, an easy target for me, Salesforce, right? Nice little undercut move. You got the MACD starting to cross. You'd want to see volume that came in on these days. I'm not even looking at the volume. Let's see. Boom. Not too bad. It's not as much volume as I expected there. I'd like to see something more like this bar, the 15 million being right here at the bottom around 317. But definitely you're seeing the volume increase into the move. 330 is going to be very vital today to hold. But CRM starting to turn things around. And with Oracle doing so well, I'd keep it on the radar. Not a bad one to watch. Of course, OpenAI, we cannot trade. And SoftBank, we're not going to be trading either. So I just continue to watch to see if Oracle can keep pushing. And with that mention, what did we get a mention of? Well, the real key to that mention is what? Infrastructure investment. And I think this is very important because this is giving us some insight into what we should be watching as theme traders, right? So I think it's especially important to focus on the infrastructure of AI, not so much AI plays. So we're talking, of course, small nuclear reactors. We're talking autonomous. We're talking robotics. Trades like this are definitely important to keep an eye out for. All right, we'll see what else is going on in the market today, guys. We'll see if Salesforce can keep pushing. And can it get to 340s today? We'll find out, guys. That's definitely for certain. Let's keep it going on the Sunrise Report and see what else we can come up with. All right, next one up. Let's go to Netflix as it's breaking records here, guys. And Netflix should be breaking records, right? I mean, I know that you guys probably watched the Mike Tyson fight, or maybe you're a Squid 2 fan. Maybe Squid Games is what's more up your alley. Or maybe you're like me and you watched some NFL football on Netflix recently. I'll tell you one thing. I even just talked about this with the wife. The wife was telling me, we've been subscribed to Netflix, I think, since like 2016, almost like 9 or 10 years, paying them the consistent money. And there's a reason why, right? I think a lot of traders have Netflix. A lot of consumers overall have Netflix, right? I mean, there's very few that don't. I'll tell you that much. I knew very limited friends that don't have access to Netflix. And now you're seeing it. A nice little push here. Let's talk about the numbers that came in. They definitely wowed Wall Street with top and bottom line beats here. Record-breaking subscriber growth. EPS came in at $4.27 versus a $4.20 expected. Revenues at $10.25 billion versus a $10.11 billion expected. Paid memberships at 301.63 million versus 290.9 million expected. So a big beat there. And the key drivers, of course, stellar content slate following Squid Games 2, holiday NFL games, live events like the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight. All those kind of things were going to help Netflix. it was almost a given here, right? I think this is one of those trades that, man, you have to be understanding the way a stock works, the environment, story around stocks matters so much. In this case, the technicals were not telling us that Netflix was going to make a big move. But if you knew the fundamentals and you knew the story, you might have got a Netflix right. Looking ahead, Netflix plans to release hits like Stranger Things and Wednesday in 2025, plus films from top directors like Rian Johnson and Guillermo del Toro. So price hike is coming, though, as streaming tiers to rise $1 or $2 a month. Ad tiers are thriving here, driving 55% of signups in supported markets. So looks like a lot of people are willing to take the lower price tag of Netflix if they just watch some ads. I don't know how they do that, because I'll tell you one thing, I can't watch any ads. I get annoyed for ads. Yeah, they drive me crazy, man. All right, guys, we'll take a look at what's going on in the chat. What's up? What's up, guys? Channel Guy Trader. MSTR is done. We'll take a look at that action. How's Bitcoin looking right now? Let's take a look at some of these actions, some of the stocks right there. You say MSTR is done? I don't know about that, man. I think this is a big spot right here, right? So you got a big chance right now to either drive Bitcoin or it starts to crash, right? And this is a big level. This 400, it is so vital right now. And I could draw it with a rectangle, and I'm going to draw it with a rectangle because it's not a clean chart. It's not like a clean line here. I would draw the line right here on this body low, right, where the close is there. So it's like 397.28. You can see how we're fighting in that range. It needs to break that if it really wants to break out. We'll see what happens there in micro strategy. But coin, definitely one to watch. Fake breakout yesterday. I agree. You got that opportunity there, and you definitely have those kind of longs trapped against the 400. I agree. That's literally yesterday. They got that fake out through the 400, fake breakout above the 400. I'd like to see it go towards 400 today and then fail. So maybe make a move to like 397 and then fail. It's already failing right now, back down towards the 380s. So you could be right, channel guy. I mean, definitely. It looks good there. Look at the hourly, my man says. And that's exactly what you see there. Definitely you see that blow off. One thing that I would say is that you got what? One attempt going for that 400 right around here. It didn't make it. Then finally you got that attempt. You got this attempt that went to 394. I'd love to see it go right back over here towards like 396. Create that head and shoulders pattern there and then get shorting on it. But hey, not a bad one. We'll see if this one starts to fail and gets down there towards the 360. All right, let's keep it going, guys. Not a bad one to watch out there. Par bringing in some watch list today. We'll take a look at some of that. A lot going on in that watch list. So we'll go through some of that right now, guys. Let me take a look at what else is being mentioned in the chat. Good morning to you, Emma. It's good to see some new traders in the chat. And if you're new to the show or for some reason just want to say hello, guys. It's good to see you guys. Maybe you're not so active, but it's good to see you guys. I'd love to get a hello and let me know what's your top stock you're watching today. Mitch, it's Dell in AI play, and it most certainly is, right? Alexander, let's take a look at that. If you guys don't know, Alexander is actually my middle name. So, hey, shout out to you. Let's take a look here. Dell is most certainly an AI play, right? And it's also an infrastructure play. Data play, right? And so, of course, this has been taking a little bit of a hit as of late, but before this in early 24, it was on a really strong trend. So I kind of continue to watch to see what happens there. What did we see is that a lot of the laptops weren't getting bought up and things like that that had AI features. So I'd continue to watch to see if we can get back above certain levels. I'm looking for a rise back at least towards this trend line before I get too excited about Dow. But down here, you could start getting a turn where you start getting back towards the 137 and the 150s. I feel like I'd be playing it a little bit early on the weekly. But if you take a look on the daily, you've had what? 1, 2, 3, 4 attempts to break down towards the 100. Now you're getting that reversal. I really pay attention to 108s. I would not want 108s to get broken again. And I'd want to see it start getting back here towards 127 and 125, trying to attempt getting back through this, if it could get through this, I think you could start to shake some of the bears, right? Back up towards like 129, 130. Yeah, Dell can start going. Is it Dell an AI trade? Yeah, it's a sneaky one, but definitely it's an AI trade. All right, let's keep it going, guys. We'll see what else is mentioned out there, and we'll go through your list, Par. We'll go through it during the show. How about we do that? All right, guys. It's 8:58. We're about to start the show at 9 a.m., but definitely a lot going on in the Sunrise Report today. Netflix really taking things over. Let's go to UAL now with a little bit of a takeoff. You're clear for takeoff. United, clear for takeoff. UAL getting a nice little takeoff move, and it continues to push the realms of the airlines. It makes other airlines look like, I don't know, looks like they drive a bus or something, because holy moly, what's going on here, guys? DAL, UAL, definitely the best of breeds. We'll see if American can continue to follow. This has been a great trade since back when this was down here towards $10. I still remember when it was down there. It was close to the pre-pandemic numbers, or the pandemic numbers back in kind of the April pricing. It was down to $10, guys. This should have been one to load the boat. I made a couple of swing trades throughout here, but I can tell you right now, looking back, this one should have been one to make a major investment, because American Airlines isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And since then, about 5 months later, it's up 90%. I mean, nowhere near the UAL and DAL move, but those weren't down at the pandemic pricing, right? So definitely gave us a nice opportunity. We'll look to see if Love can get going off of this, right? Off of this report. I think this is one that I've been waiting to see it start making a move. The kind of the ownership and the management team has been trying to do and pull on every single string to try to get Love going. Nice volume coming in the last 3 days. I think this can now have some legs to it. I'll be looking for a push towards 34 and 35. We'll see what happens there in Love Southwest. All right, that's a United Airlines, but they killed it, guys. 326. Of course, on the UPS, revenues also beating their outlook for 25 adjusted EPS forecast of 11.50 to 13.50 matches the analyst expectation. United stock is up 180% year over year, leading all airline carriers. All right, consumer goods surge today. Procter Gamble and Johnson & Johnson out there getting the lift. We'll see what happens with that one, but Procter Gamble now towards 167. Not a stock you'd think would be getting a lift in this environment, but now with that MACD, it just shows us that we could start to maybe take a look to see if we get some household personal products to make a little bit of a jump. Johnson & Johnson EPS of $2.04 and $22.52 billion revenue also exceeded the expectations, but this one's taking the hit. Right. And that's just how it goes. Right. You can be in the wrong sector. And I think in the healthcare space, it's the wrong place to be right now. We'll see what happens with Eli Lilly and other names today. They got the bounce back yesterday. Now, do they come in and slack them? I think it's setting up for a slacking today. We'll see what happens in healthcare. Will it take a big beating? We'll find out, guys. There's been so many names that have been taking major hits. Will they take another hit? Find out, man. Moderna's really down 36. I feel like this one could be right back down towards those January 13 lows. We'll see what happens there. All right, that's going to do it for me on the Sunrise Report. Let's get right to the show. Let's start that countdown. Let's bring on Michael. Let's take a look into the heat map. Take a look at watch lists that you guys throw up. Keep throwing up those tickers. We got a lot more to get through today. Let's get it started. You guys know where you're at. It's TTP Live. Wants 200, baby. You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at. All right, traders, let's go ahead. Let's bring on Michael Noss. And of course, you guys give him a good old loving in the chat. And if you're not following my man, what are you doing, right? Give him a good follow on Twitter. Guys, all my guys on X right now. I see a lot of you guys joining on X. Let's do it like this, guys. I'll throw up his Twitter right here in the chat, and you guys will be
Uh-oh.
able to click onto it. But let me know what's going on underneath the hood, man. How we looking today?
I was about to say I need to make sure the Twitter's cleaned up a bit. I think first of all we need to give ourselves a little bit of a pat on the back here for the stream, because you guys, if you guys were tuning in a week and a half ago down here at 580 on the SPY, we were saying if we hold 580 on the SPY, we want to be buyers, we want to be buying this market, and we were kind of clowning on a lot of the bears that came out of the woodworks on this pullback, and look at what happened, right? Very simple bear trap. One of the major setups I think traders should learn from a day trading to a swing trading to whatever, that little undercut of a very clear support area. And now we're rallying. Now we are like 0.5% from all-time highs, which certainly isn't a bearish thing. I think a lot of shorts are trapped here. I think a lot of longs that are underinvested are trapped here as well. So that's what's kind of going on at a high level. Is everything's looking good, right? SPY, RSP, the equal weight is doing fine. IWM is doing fine. MDY, which is right, you go anywhere, mid caps, small caps, large caps, equal weight, they're all doing good. But over the heat map, NLR and URA still nuclear is being the thing, right? Nuclear is the trend ever since the last 2 days with the administration change. That's what people have been watching. They've been watching those two things. Semiconductors doing okay. These are two different semiconductor ETFs, but yeah, just a big cap tech rally. We have a lot of things that are kind of break even to down, but the overall markets continue to march higher. I would be shocked, which isn't rare for trading, but I'd be shocked if we don't try over the next few days just to smash all-time highs to really get that FOMO going. Imagine if you are a fund manager and you puked out even some of your positions here at the lows, and then all of a sudden it's print new all-time highs. You're getting investors calling saying, oh, the market hit new all-time highs. How are we doing? And if your answer is we're not fully invested right now, you've got a lot of problems. So yeah, everything's going well. The sectors again that are pointing out the earnings stuff that you mentioned, now that we're in earnings season, those are going to be good to watch. And then also the markets. Now, when we have time a little later, I actually have a whole lot of things that got into the algo. So there's been like 3 or 4 days with nothing. And then yesterday there was like 5 or 6 different trades. So maybe we'll take a look at those in a little bit.
Looking good, looking good. Looking like we got something to watch, and we're getting a lot of questions, of course, in crypto in the chat. As my man Channel Guy Trader coming in today saying MSTR is done.
Okay. Well, it looks like it's an inside day. Longer term story, right? I've seen a couple of videos. There's no way this isn't a Ponzi scheme. What he's doing with MSTR, it's textbook. But the question is, how long does that last? Ponzi schemes they can go on for some time, so I wouldn't just be
Dude, there's
short.
money to be made, right? I mean, that's the truth. And as long as Bitcoin keeps going up, I mean, MSTR will have a hard time coming down, right? Let's be honest.
Exactly, right. The that kind of thing only blows up in some sort of a crash. We've been talking about this in Bitcoin forever. We are just still right between this range, right? We've got these highs and these lows. It's kind of funny. We undercut the lows, trap in some bears, rip to the highs, spike through the highs, and now we're looking a little bit soft on those highs. So this could be one of those. I've seen it before where you have the bear trap, and then you have the bull trap, and then we just sit inside of the range, right? You don't even need to go that far back. Just look at this consolidation that took place on Bitcoin for almost a year now. You had, it looked like it was crashing and it looked like it was rallying over and over and over again, just to shake out both sides, to frustrate both sides. Again, I've said this with Bitcoin and crypto, and I'll continue to say it. You don't need to be early, right? Clean breaks in crypto. It's a very momentum driven asset. Trying to kind of nickel and dime your way in and nickel and dime your way out. That's how you get chopped up in the markets. Also, more so, I would say in crypto, because what crypto does is it just chops around. Yeah, I've got all these boxes drawn, chops around for long periods of time. And then when it spikes and it breaks out of those with momentum, you don't need to be early, right? You can get involved, and there's still a lot going on, but just has this history of absolutely nothing and then massive move. So for me, I'm not interested. Like, I've got alerts set at 110, 111, that kind of area, well above this base, because when that momentum hits, I want to be buying and getting involved. Until then, I'm pretty much sitting out of the entire crypto market.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's just gonna go with the Bitcoin, right? We'll see what happens on that. And yesterday, definitely some fake outs. So we'll see what happens. That's what I think mainly Channel Guy Trader was referring to, is a lot of kind of fake outs on those breakouts. So we'll see if it catches some traders now. All right, let's keep going towards the market and what you're seeing out there, Michael. Of course, we've gone through the heat map, but what kind of setups you're seeing in the market right now? Any kind of different stocks have your radar? I know that Algo was telling you a couple of stocks, but what are you seeing right now?
Yeah. So first of all, right, we're at these prior highs. And again, in the next few days, I'd be shocked if we don't break it. I don't know if we take a little bit of a back off today, because we've ripped all the way up to that level in a pretty big way, right? Just rocketed to that level. So I wouldn't be shocked if we pull back for a couple days, or even just consolidate sideways now that we're getting there. But again, I'd be shocked if we didn't go through. But yeah, the algo has just been printing. So let's go through a couple of those names. Again, this is a system that I've been building and I've been testing as a way to kind of systematize a lot of my trading when it comes to day trading, just because again, I'm normally a longer term trader. So these systems are going to help me pick, right? They have entries, they have stop losses, they have exit times. All of that is kind of set up inside the system itself. It back tests pretty well. The 60% win rate, I've back tested it 20 years. These are all shorts right now. The idea is I'm going to work on the short side first, and then from there, I'm going to start taking a look at the long side after that. The idea behind that, and this is something I think is important to note with people, is because as a swing trader and an investor, I'm generally long anyway. So the way I'm looking at it is that if I can use trade the pool's money and come up with some short strategies, that's a good way to hedge my overall type of portfolio. If we do have big down days in the market, my normal portfolio is not going to be looking so hot, but maybe I made some good money on the trade the pool side there. So the first one is CHRO. I know you traded this yesterday.
Yeah, trying to get the true roll the other way.
Yeah, we're trying to get five or what 288 to the short side. I actually have them marked up here. CHRO. Yeah, it's an easier way to look at it. So yeah, this kind of 285 to 288. This is where the algo is looking to take a short. We're actually gapping under that a little bit today. Funny enough, and obviously I run these every night, so I had no way of knowing what was happening in the morning. That's roughly the pre-market high. So I'm going to mark that. And if we get to the pre-market high, I'll actually set an alert here. If we get to that pre-market high and we start to look a little bit weak, that's the area to crunch there, just to see if these things generally fall apart. ISSC, no idea. Innovative Solutions. What kind of cheesy name. Again, we're looking for very overextended names in the short run, because especially these kind of lower float names, they have a tendency to correct. So the idea here was around 1088. I've actually moved that because we have this low right here around 1092 or so. So 1090. So I'm going to watch that one pretty closely just to see if that falls apart. I forgot to set an alert on a couple of these. VATE. So you can see there's two alerts for this one. One is a break and a challenge of the prior high around $10. And then the other is a break of this pre-market low, which again, it didn't know yesterday would be this pre-market low. But either of these would be a short as a mean reversion or a short as a trend continuation on there. HUSA, I think there's like a 0% chance this triggers from what happened in the morning. But it was looking to short around 1053. Two more. OKLO, I know, is one of Mitch's favorites here to trade. OKLO, it needs a rally pretty hard. The entry here is 33.73. So yeah, basically pre-market highs. So this actually struggled. It's interesting to see these, and this is one of the reasons why you don't just build the algo and plug it into a robot and walk away. It's interesting to see these things in real time. This is actually, again, it's using the closing price as of yesterday. So it had no idea any of this post-market or pre-market action happened. So it kind of got right there this morning. and fell apart. So if we get a second chance, it's great. And again, I'm not just going to take these. I'm going to try to use some discretion to say, hey, let's see what happens when they get to that price. Let's look for some sort of weakness. And then last is this RDW, and it's looking for a little bit of an extension over pre-market highs. But if you look at the daily chart of all these, they all pretty much look the same. I'm using basic indicators, overbought, oversold on daily charts. Everything I'm doing is based off daily charts. And then the idea is they give the prices. Those prices give me a decent idea of whether or not these things are decent trades or not. These are areas in which, I have somewhat of an edge in. I'm looking for the last one. Yeah. So very slight edges here, right? We're talking, 55, 56% win rates. And then trying to use a little bit of my own discretion to see if I can just pump those win rates a little bit, if I can get a little bit higher. Exits are always the end of the day, or the stop losses, which are generally, whatever this range is, again, on top of the price, so pretty wide stop losses. But exits are end of the day, but that's something else that I'm looking to improve, because again, I'm using daily candle data. But, if I can get a little bit cute with it and start nailing the entry, that will up my win rate a bit. If I can start trailing a stop intraday in a way that makes sense, that will hopefully up my win rate on the other side. So that's how I'm taking a basic idea and then kind of going from there to see if I can take that basic idea and then refine it a little bit, right? So we start with an equity curve that looks kind of roughly like this over the past 20 years, right? Not making money all the time, but generally speaking, up and to the right, that's what you want to see. And then you try to add some discretion to that and say, okay, how can I make this even just a little bit better? So yeah, a lot of strategies, a lot of symbols coming through today. So I've got all the alert sets, so I'll kind of talk about those in real time when they come hit.
Like it. We'll see what happens. Can we get our true road today? And I'm looking into the chat. We got a nice list that Par had here. We can go through some of those names. If any of these catch your attention, Michael, we can take a look at some of these. I'll throw this up, as I always love to see Par's watch list here. Always put something out. And I love you guys out there. If you guys want to put watch lists in the chat, because the truth is, hey, you never know when you might put a stock on our radar. And next thing you know, you're helping Michael and I out, right? Because that's the truth, man. We pay attention to a lot of the market, but there's always that name that just sneaks by you. And you're like, dude, how did I miss that play? I have one right now that I just caught, right? Like looking at the scanners, right? And Planet Fitness. Like, this is a trade that I've made 3 years in a row. I don't know why I missed this trade again. The new year, new me trade.
Oh, yeah. Nice little breakout there. Is that all-time highs?
Yeah,
Pretty
dude.
close.
This thing is
Yeah,
breaking
it
out
is.
into the year. And I mean, this is the classic one. I've seen this happen so many times, guys. It's crazy, but it's a nice little setup there. And it just broke higher, right? I mean, a little sideways consolidation at the beginning of the year. Now just starting to break higher. And Planet Fitness getting the move there, man. A lot of people going to the gyms nowadays. And with the also, I think the weight loss drugs, it actually doesn't make people go away from the gym. I think it actually brings them to the gym, because they want to kind of like make that weight loss drug kind of journey go to the next level, right? Because if you combine the weight loss drugs with some working out, you should definitely see some results, right? And so I think that's one thing to think about as a simple trade, right? Let's take a look at some watch lists and see what we got there.
Yeah, I've been going through this. A lot of, and again, this candle right here that we're seeing is the pre-market candle. Again, it's one thing that I really like that TrendSpider does that I haven't seen anywhere else, is I want to look at the daily chart, but I want to see that pre-market action as well. So a lot of tech in this list, right? Dell is interesting, but really just a dog overall. It hasn't been able to get going with any of the other kind of AI or semi plays, but kind of looking at this downtrend, or this channel a little bit. Maybe we start to get going if we can get at or above through this channel in some way, would be interesting. Roku, I never know how those guys actually make money, but it's been a decent little stock for at least a little bit. But yeah, when I zoom out and I see in the middle of this channel, there's a lot of things butting up against recent highs. And it makes sense because the market's bumping his head up against recent highs. So it'll be interesting to see with these names, and same with the market, if the market gets to that high and then even backs off just a little bit, which again, I could certainly see happening. I don't think that's crazy at all to say, okay, the market needs a little bit of rest here. You could get going. C3 AI, this one's actually pretty interesting. Just because, right, we've pulled back to this prior level that we broke out of. We're putting in this little downtrend right here, holding on decently strong compared to some of these other names. So that C3 AI is one that's most interesting so far. I think mRNA, yeah, this thing's just been getting this, if you're playing something like mRNA, this is just a nice oversold bounce, right? And you're trading it just like that. You're saying this thing has just gotten absolutely, like on a weekly chart, just look at this, from $600 or $500 down to 35, which is absolutely whacked. But that means there's a lot of shorts in it, and eventually those shorts, they don't make money unless they hit the cover button. So you can get these pretty wicked rallies here. Hood is very interesting to me, just because even with Bitcoin not moving, right, and Bitcoin not breaking out at all, Hood's popping here. It's not quite all-time highs. I think all-time highs were like 70. Yeah, but pretty close here. So nice giant cup. What would be interesting to see is if this is a monthly chart, so we're going way out here. If we put in a little bit of a handle here, so we might spend the next couple of months consolidating, pulling back a little bit. But on a daily chart, this thing's just crazy. Considering this is normally moving somewhat with crypto, and crypto's been stuck in a range since we hit that $100,000 mark. This chopping sideways, this moving side, or this ripping in Hood while everything else is chopping sideways, that's really, really interesting to me. Maybe a little bit overextended here in the short run, but just it's been a beast. SoFi. Yeah, same kind of breakout. A lot of charts look like this, right? We're up, 5-6 days in a row. Any sort of metric of, let's use, where's the stochastic? Any sort of metric of overbought, oversold, you can see we're right up into the oversold areas. It's not
so fine it, man. So fine the turn there. Man, this was such a retail favorite, right? I mean,
yeah.
It's turned.
Yeah, and in the long run, they look great, but I'm just looking over the last few days, right? We're oversold
yeah,
on all
man.
metrics here.
But this one loves to do a little stair step ride, and then stair step down. I don't see too many elevators down on the chart. That's one thing I try to look for a lot. This stock have a tendency of doing some elevator moves, like some really hard down action moves. But we are extended, right? I think that's the hard part of looking at many charts today, right? You see a lot of them pushed already, past resistance, extending away from moving averages. These are when short time trades seem to make sense, and it's very easy to get washed on, right? The rotation go against you at this point, not really going for you. And I think that's one thing that you need to be looking at. This is why swing traders love moments like this, where they got maybe something early on and they're just riding the momentum. Like they come in every day and the cash keeps getting bigger, right? But even the swing traders know at some point, the rotation is going to go against us a little bit, and it might be time for some profit taking. So we'll see what happens when that comes.
Yeah, and what I would do if and when that comes is just the which ones aren't pulling back the most, right? So we talked about how the SPY is still under those all-time highs. Well, with SoFi, or if you mark these same highs, which is just right here, I know it's not all-time, but the December highs, if the SPY pulls back and SoFi doesn't break those highs, well, that's a very easy way to define relative strength. Market hit all-time highs, bounces head. SoFi didn't, right? Broke through all-time highs and then pulled back to test them. That's why I highlighted this little box here. That'd be interesting. So I'll pull back into 17 or so on SoFi, hold in here, and then a reverse higher. That'd be very, very interesting. Apple and Tesla. So Apple, right? We're talking about relative strength here. This is massive relative weakness in Apple. So I'm not, again, short term, it's oversold. But then I look at it and say, okay, if the market is getting overbought, we're getting a little bit extended in the market. And then the Apple is oversold. You can see here just a basic stochastic, right? We're in the oversold territory. So if we have the market overbought and Apple oversold, then if the market pulls back, you got to imagine Apple's going to be hit a little bit harder than most. So this was kind of one that I would stay away from myself, or potentially short. And same kind of thing with Tesla, got hit the last couple days. Not oversold, it didn't get hit very, very hard, but you can see it's struggling hard with this anchored VWAP from this high right here, which is all-time highs. I need to see it back above that in order to be interesting. It's gotten to that point, it's just fighting. But you're comparing this to the overall market, which did that undercut and rally, and it's just been shooting higher. So the names that I'm interested in potentially buying on a pullback are the ones that were doing better than the overall market.
All right, let's take a little bit of a weekly perspective here. I got you guys. I'll take a look at just a little weekly action here. I normally take a look at the sectors into kind of the daily outlook, but let's take a look at the weekly sector outlook, right? What do we see leading? We see industrials, healthcare, utility. Of course, these are from the open action, not the overall. The overall would be here on the left-hand side, right? But still, pretty close, right? You see 2.14 here, 1.63, right? And so I like to compare this a lot because sometimes you might find something like this where the cyclicals have been a little bit of surprise. It's up about 1.14, but overall, at least from the open, it's not giving us much action. So these are where I think you're seeing a lot of the surprises come from the action, the cyclicals. Now, of course, technology, you can see it's just been pretty basic there. Healthcare has been that bounce back area. Now the question is, do they come back and take it back down, right? I feel like it's went back there towards some trend line. You saw some bigger names start to show a little bit of some life coming back. But the major ones have been really bad, man. It's been pretty ugly here in this space. So I think that it's hard to turn this around, right? I mean, you can look at Eli Lilly, you can look at Johnson & Johnson getting whacked today, AbbVie. A lot of these charts just don't look strong to me. If anything, they look like they're ready to just get hit on resistance and get right back down, like this Pfizer. It just seems to me like it can't get above 27, can't get above 27. Recently had one day where it spent that day above 27, and now kind of running into like 2680s, 2690s, easily could get hit back down towards this trend line and then back in towards like 26, 25, maybe even 24 coming for these names. So if there's any space where I don't feel like the rally has legs, healthcare is not one of those. Industrials is a little bit better. I've seen Cat, Deere. We talked about Lockheed Martin yesterday, how the defensive names started to get a little better. So the industrial space, definitely an area where I think I'd keep a watch to see if it can continue going. That could also tell us what? Economic activity, right? When we see the industrial space kind of continue to lift off, it could just be a sign of what's to come, right? And I think that this is something to watch. Another thing to watch will be, of course, how the Fed kind of continues with the interest rate, because I think that's what's the only thing that's somewhat holding back Deere and Cat. If we really start to cut rates, I think these companies can really have a nice move, because a lot of these farm and heavy construction companies are been on a kind of a hold off period of buying equipment. Why? Because the equipment's probably like 2 or 3 times the price tag with interest rates higher. So once the interest rates, they start to see the interest rates go lower, they'll start buying up the equipment. It's more of a matter of, hey, let's pause for maybe a year or two, and then we can go back to buying some more equipment. That's why URA did so well in this environment. It's not URA. It's United Rentals. What's the ticker? I messed up a ticker. I never mess up tickers.
URI.
URI. There you go. Appreciate you, man. United Rentals, and this one did really well in that environment. Why? Well, because people were renting these heavy construction machinery versus buying it, right? Because of the interest rate. So this one just recently got a little pop. Also, I'd be looking for this one to come back down and see if it starts to split. Right? Does this one come down? Deere go back up? Cat go back up? Those are interesting companies. Of course, Cat did really well in the Trump environment on his first presidency. So let's see if that can continue going. Any sector outlook that you're seeing there that seems a little bit stronger or weaker? What are you seeing there?
No, I think you nailed it. XLI, you can see just the insane rally from that undercut, and then XLV, right? You can see, right, this is the 50-day moving average. We're hitting that way weak here, so we need to see that change for sure. And that is down a little bit today when most other things are up. Uranium, we talked about a lot. I like NLR as a nice proxy for that, just because it's looking for those, not only uranium as a whole, but it's got a whole bunch of large nuclear reactors and the small nuclear reactors, that whole thing. I'm still big. I've been big into jets. I think this is the first time I've been like
Oh
heavily
man,
invested in airlines. Like, it's just
you know
insane.
what?
This is
Yeah,
just
yeah.
nuts.
I'm about to reach out to Jets owner right now and bring him
Mm,
on.
get them,
Send him a
get them going.
message. I gotta send my boy a message. I gotta let him know, man. You're getting some Jets support. He'll be here in a heartbeat. I know how he is. So I might have to reach out, guys. Let us know, guys, what you guys want to see more on this show, right? If you guys are interested in getting interviews from market executives, maybe
Hmm.
it's companies that you haven't heard of, we're more than willing to do it. We just want to know also what you guys think, right? So let us know, hit back feedback. I also threw up my email just a little bit earlier. Wisdom was asking about it. So if you guys didn't catch that, you guys can also email me at any point, guys. Mitch at Trade the Pool. Here it is, guys. It's not just for Wisdom. You guys can all hit me up. Let me know what you guys want to see on the show, because that's the truth. We can't make the show better if we don't get feedback, right? If then it then just becomes what I want the show to be better, or what Michael wants the show to be
Hmm.
better. But we want to give it to you guys out there. So don't forget that you guys run the show too. Is it setups? Is it trading examples? Is it market executives? Do you guys want to hear from names, right? The analyst out there. We know tons and tons of analysts out there that could be coming on and talking different stocks, but it's all about you guys. We're doing this for you. So let us know, like always. Here's the market, guys, open, and there's this POAI that I'm watching. Might go into a halt right now, guys. So definitely these AI names starting to show up on the scanners today. So POAI, one name right now that's getting the lift here. Could see it quickly showing up on the scanner there, of about 19% in the last 5 minutes. Of course, I use Benzinga Pro for that scanner. So you guys can check out Benzinga Pro as part of our partners that we have available to you. But already to 174, I'm looking for a quick pullback back below the 150, but I can't jump up there at the 170s. I just feel like that's easy recipe for it to come back to 150s real quickly and get caught here. But we'll see what happens there with POAI.
Yeah, someone just was quickly asking about TEM, so we can go through that while just
Yeah,
the first few
Tempest.
minutes.
Just ask
This was
Nancy, right?
yeah, just give her a call. Say, hey, what do you think here? But um,
Hold on. Nancy.
hey, if you have that connection, you let me know, because that's just
Yeah,
crazy.
right.
Um,
I'll tell you one thing. Just like, just talking out there. Man, I didn't know I was gonna meet the vice president when I met him. I met him early on this year. He wasn't thought of being the vice president until he is now, but I was able to meet the vice president early on
oh,
this
cool.
year. I talked to him about cannabis out there, right there in Washington D.C. So we were talking to him about cannabis because that was when Schedule 3 was going on and situations like that. Yeah, you never know who you might see walking down the street. You never know who you might meet.
Exactly. Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. Again, for those who don't know, the reason we're joking about Nancy Pelosi and all that is because she bought a bunch, and that's what kind of, I think, sparked this little rally. But this main thing I'm looking at is this line right here, is the AV WEP from all-time highs. So it just kind of shows us this is what we're looking at from, if you were to dollar cost average in. So what's the average person's price in TEM? And you can see I've highlighted how much this has acted as support and resistance for this particular
Q's
play.
rip.
Yeah, so that's what I'm looking for, is if we can get some sort of back and fill, if we can hold this anchored VWAP and then start to push higher. I think that's the name. I'm not just going to chase something because Nancy got it at a way better price than I did, but I think that's interesting.
Woohoo.
Let's take a
Q's
look at the
ripping, guys.
cues.
ARM leading the action in the Qs here. I talked about ARM and Qualcomm, some names that I wanted to watch today. Qualcomm already getting a nice little push there to 170. I'm looking for a 169 pullback there. We'll look to see if we get it, but really nice looking action there on ARM and Qualcomm. Very similar charts, I feel like. ARM a little bit better than Qualcomm because it's where it's at. It's on near the top end. It's a little bit strength, but really good move on ARM yesterday. Qualcomm looking pretty decent there. And overall, Micron, right, AVGO, some of those semiconductors really looking great.
What's interesting here, the SPY is not doing nearly as well as the Qs, so
Oh,
showing
no,
that
no.
this is a big cap. It's a big cap rally. IWM is actually selling a little bit, so we have our small caps moving a little bit lower, while we have the Qs just ripping, ripping, ripping. So again, we're seeing these diversions happen more and more, and you get these in news-driven markets. Generally speaking, the Qs and the IWM and all of this, they'll move kind of in lockstep. But when those divergences break, I think that's something to really pay
Yeah.
attention to.
Every sector red from the open except technology.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the way I look at it there. And what's leading the downside? Real estate, utilities, and healthcare. Remember, we talked about how maybe healthcare was on the top end yesterday. A lot of times they come and flip it, right? So I'll be watching healthcare for potential shorts. That's just one thing that I'll be looking at. Names like that. We'll look at some bigger boys. Johnson & Johnson got hit earlier today. Pfizer already taking a hit. I've talked about how that chart looked pretty red here, and nice action right out the gates there.
Yeah, Pfizer, Johnson, healthcare not doing well. Lagging here,
NVS,
but
all these charts looking really bearish out the gates. These are when I look for what's called VWAP fades a lot of the times, right? So give us a big bar down, right, on the opening action, come back for that VWAP, and then give me a level, let's say on the pre-market level, where I can use that as my out resistance and then short off of that VWAP, right? A known strategy, not as much edge as it used to have, just because I feel like too many traders use the VWAP nowadays. And when too many people use one strategy, what happens? A lot of times it loses edge. But that's just the way that I've noticed it. And that's just in my years of trading it. When I first started trading, this was one of my favorite strategies, the VWAP fade.
Yeah, and it's, it's lost a little bit, but it's still kind of interesting just because so many people watch VWAP, so it's definitely something that I want to keep an eye on too.
Yeah.
I'm looking through all
AbbVie
the
also, man, look at that, down 1% there. We talked about how that chart looked ugly on the daily. Look at that.
yeah.
These healthcare names, they don't look good, man. I want to see the financials turn today, because if financials start to pull back, that's the easy one way that I could see us start to kind of lose this big drive that we're on.
Yeah, I'm watching this VATE, this VATE that we talked about earlier from the algo. There's the daily chart. If I just go into the intraday chart, you can see it's right at that level that we were interested in watching it. I'm going to anchor a VWAP from yesterday's high, and then I think this is something I'm going to watch. That lines up with this high as well, just to see if we get some sort of a bounce and then a fade off of 9. I don't really feel like momentum shorting it right through these lows. That could be the move, right? That's what the algo is saying to do. So ideally, that's probably what I should do. But just a little bit overdone from 930 to 865 in a straight line. So I'm looking for some sort of bounce or consolidation here. That is the only one that has come through this particular scan as something to keep an eye on. But yeah, we've got that. So there's that little bounce there as well. So this is something that I'm going to watch just to keep an eye on for different trades. You guys can see, if you guys see all these alerts coming through, this is something else that I'm playing with, where it's little algorithm, little VWAP algorithm, talking about algorithms. So this is something that I'm watching as well. But we've got a lot of testing to do before I talk about that with you guys. So we can pay attention to that. But basically it's looking to short, based off what's coming through here, a lot of these quantum computing type names. So we can take a look at this, like RGTI and Qubit. QUBT. The idea here is that I'm trying to figure out a way that I can come up with strategies in order to look to buy and sell different names on the daily chart, and then have something just alert me intraday and say, hey, take a trade here on this list that you selected, as opposed to the other algos that are working completely the other way around, where they're saying, hey, you should look to short this, and then I'm kind of doing my own discretion after that. So Getting a little bit of a bounce here, so I'm going to watch this name to see if we fail at like $9 or any, and then start to sell back down. That'll be the trade that I'll take there.
All right, watching Microbot Medical here, MBot. Known runner before. We'll look to see if it can get the move. Also seeing a Foxo, ASST, trying to focus on the smaller names here out the gates. But I can see in the overall market some weakness in AMD. SPY still just hanging out there. Qs, of course, were really strong out the gates. We'll see what happens to some of those names, but the Qs starting to pull back. We'll see. I mean, I'd like to see the SPY at least partake in some of it, but right now, not doing much.
No, and yeah, you want to see that wide breadth of participation. You don't want to just see if the Qs are ripping and nothing else is. That's a little bit worrisome, right? So, uh, yeah, it's just something you definitely want to pay a little bit of attention to. This ISSC is also triggering from this one. It's a little bit low volume to me. The spread's a little bit wide at a 5-cent spread, but if we start to fail at that 1091, which again was this low right here, and the area that the algo was suggesting, then we could potentially take a little bit of a trade off of that. So those are the only two that I'm watching, is this ISSC and VATE, where it's hit that $9. Now it's bounced a little bit. So if we get a failure from that bounce, I'm going to take a short. My stop's probably going to go over 10. Again, these are wide stops. The idea is that we're looking on average to have like a 60-ish% win rate. So a little bit higher win rate. A little bit lower risk to reward play, but we're trying to be lower touch when it comes to my day trading, just because one of those I'm personally trying to make up for issues that I have. So
POAI now back to the high of the day, 180. Let's taking a look at it, but no trade on that, guys. I'm looking at ARM. It feels to me a little extended here, but Qs are doing so well, it's hard to get short, right? I mean, this is just what it is, right? Like sometimes I tame myself because of the overall market. Like I tell you guys, you got to know variables, right? There's variables like story, fundamentals, technical, but don't forget the overall market, right? And the overall market a lot of the times can kind of tame you down on some trades. So I'd have to see the Qs take a hit for me to go after that ARM trade. But the reason why is just because it's extended second day move, but it's pretty far out there already, up there towards 174 already, up on the day about $12. So
yeah, just ripping. A lot of stuff is
ripping.
ripping
8% from the open. I mean, that's a pretty good move there.
Yeah. And then it's one of those things, right? I wish I had that indicator up, but one thing to do is measure that in ATRs and see how much is it up versus how much is it normally up, and that sometimes can be a good place to look to either take profits or to sell. So if it's up more than one ATR, but looking at this on the daily chart, right, you can see here big area of resistance. It's where it's kind of failed back here. It's failed a little bit here again, just ripping through that though. So the next only area to watch is these kind of all-time highs, and that's still a long way away. You're talking 185 or so. So could it fail before then? Yeah, but it's in, as the traders say, the blue sky territory where there's nothing in its way until new highs.
One stock missed out the gates here today, and I keep missing this one. And these are one of those days where it's just like, it's a little frustrating. NNE again, nice liftoff right out the gates, already there to 33.60. I was playing this on Friday, missed yesterday's big run, and look at the move now, right? I mean, now you're right back towards the daily highs. And if anything, even approaching like to rip out through the recent high, which was 33.82. So right now, 33.78, almost right through that spot right there. Boom, you just hit it through. So really good action there on NNE start the day. Rich Robotics up also 13% on that one. So robotic stocks getting nice little lift. Serve is another one to mention in that space. It's just pulled back to 1930s. We'll look to see if it makes a move. Definitely moving all around there. Those are robotic stocks, right? So keep looking at those types of names. RCAT pulling back to the 9 right now. Let's see what's going on with the quantum names. QUBT pulled back to the 12 there. That looks more like a fade right now, but we'll see what happens there. QMCO also right back down. IonQ in the red, showing me more and more. Maybe the quantum names pulling back, but big boys are what's holding up this market right now. Let's see if Apple can stay green now. It just went back to green. And this is one that I'd actually look to maybe play today. 220's monthly support. I know that it's really weak, but I see that 220 as a level where maybe institutions might just get in, right? So monthly support right around that level, 219s, right back off of that 220s. So just watching to see if that 220s can hold today.
So I've taken in that Vate, move over here, just a nibble short. Again, these are paper trades. Just the idea is that to show you guys the setup. First had an idea, back tested that going back 20 years. Now I want to see what it's like to trade live, right? I took a trade the pool account with the first algos that I came in when I was just starting here. Those didn't do too well. I mean, it was just too much. It was too crazy. This, I've got these kind of two trades, so I'm watching this one. So the idea is, as we are bouncing into pre-market high here, I know the system wanted me to short all the way down here. So any price that I get above that is good. And then I'm just putting my stop over this recent high. And if we get there and stop me out, but then it looks like we're gonna consolidate there and move lower, I'll take another shot. And then same with ISSC. This one, it looks like it was breaking this pre-market low. So I took a short in through there. So just two ideas, the only two that have come through that system quite yet. So just keeping an eye on those while, again, I'm playing and refining this system right here as well, which is actually saying to short Capital One. But this one I haven't even tested or anything yet. The idea behind there is we're just looking to fade gaps, right? You can see too many triggers. Every one of these arrows represents a trigger. Too many triggers today on this. So that's the idea, is to kind of refine that a little bit.
Looking to see if CCJ is going to break the 55 today. Qualcomm, definitely a miss for me today. Already up there to almost 171. So really nice 9 EMA trend right now on that one. I'll look to see if I get some pullback, but good action there on Qualcomm. It's part of the playbook today. Not a bad move indeed. Not catching it though. That's the only thing right there. I'm being a little slow to the action today. I would have already taken a couple of trades at least on MBOT there through the 2. So just got to go ahead and start taking some trades. Being a little bit all over the place. NNE almost 35 now, guys. So Nuclear said, forget that GEV earnings, and GEV itself saying forget the earnings as it's coming right back up, right? It even went through the high there in the pre-market. So, hey, there you go. GEV right back up.
Yeah, when I'm looking at the board here, more and more red coming through, but URA, like you mentioned, is the top. So we have URA and semis. With semis goes tech. I mean, just the way it goes. So with wheat and these kind of things, I'm less interested in that. But the two top again is uranium and then semis. So we're seeing this uranium play continue. Now, this is, Mitch just said he was naturally not taking as many trades, and I think this is a good idea. Why? Right? Look at the range of the SPY over the last 5 or 6 days, and then look at the range we're in right now today. If you just look at the daily chart here, SP 500 has not moved. Anything that it's doing is pretty much noise. Qs is still doing okay, a little bit better there, but look at the body of the candle, right? If I take off the pre-market range, right, has not moved. If we go to IWM, right, little tiny inside day. So none of these ranges are expanding yet. So the way I'm looking at this when I look at the ETFs is a lot of this is just noise, right? So far, look at the IWM as a perfect example. We are inside the prior day's range, and the body of the candle is less than 10 cents wide for the body of the candle on one of the major indices out there. If we look at the SPY, the body of the candle here from the open to the close is 15 cents on the SPY. So when you have candles like that we have only moved 15 cents today on the S&P 500, then it's a good day to kind of sit back. So that's why a lot of people say, hey, when you're doing day trading, even swing trading, why do you spend so much time on the daily chart? It's because this shows me, look at the ranges that we saw here. And now look at this little tiny range right up. We've moved 15 cents today. Nothing really has occurred. So it's one of those days where, at least in the beginning, you want to wait a little bit. I don't know if there's any kind of news events. No, there's absolutely nothing today. There's some sort of consumer lending index at 10, but I haven't even heard about that, and it's yellow. For those who don't know, this is forexfactory.com. I've been going to this website every day for like 20 years now. I don't know what they do as a business model, but I'm glad they're around. They just color code the what's going on here. So there is some event, but when it's yellow like this, it means it's not something that the market cares about. So CB Consumer Lending Index, never even heard of it. But yeah, so we have a 15-cent range from open till now on the S&P 500. So definitely not the day to be going too crazy. Maybe the day to start fading. So you mentioned ARM there. That might be an interesting one to start to take an eye on.
Yeah, I'm looking
See
at
if it's
a
a fade
potential
coming in.
short on SoFi right now. It's been rejecting the VWAP. It's one that 18 seems to stand out to me, of course. We talked about how it's extended here. Financials are still down, so I'm wondering if this is going to be the hit day. So I like this little setup right here, rejecting the 1880s here. I'm going to give it one more chance to get to the 1790s here. If it doesn't, I'm going to go and hit it and look for it to go right through the low of the day.
Yeah, I like that one, right? It's relatively weak compared to some of the other stuff that we're seeing out there. Yeah, and
Q's
like you
holding well,
mentioned,
though. I'll tell you that much. The Q's are holding well, man. It's the Q's day, man. Susie Q day. And it could be one of those days where the Q's are up and the SPY is maybe down. Those are rare, but
the SPY would have
yeah,
a lot of moving to do to get down, right? We're up
yeah.
up 0.5% on the day. So yeah, that'd be a fair amount. Again, I'm looking at the body of the candle here. So from the open to the close is now 4 cents. So we have moved a total of 4 cents today on the SPY. This will break at some point. We're going to get a move here, but it's one of those that you got to we're getting super tight here on the intraday chart. So it could be one of those where you just take the opening range, right? We're inside the first 1 minute range of the day. We haven't broken the first 1 minute range. So we are exceptionally tight. So a pretty simple trade might be, yeah, here we go. We look like we're breaking that now. This is just break the high of the range. I don't know when the last time I've seen 20 minutes has gone by and we are still inside the first 1 minute range of the S&P 500. That shows me that there is a battle that is happening out there between bulls and bears. Like we say, when those battles end, they end up being pretty dramatic. So yeah, very tight. And here, I'll just mark. So this is the first 1 minute range of the S&P 500 in this box. So if we break this box, that might be the play to make.
All right, guys, short a little bit there. SoFi on the main account here, guys. Going to short on SoFi there. One thing that I started to see, XLF going to the bottom end of the range there. We'll see if the XLF starts to break down. I saw Bank of America pretty weak there too. So looking to see if they hit the financials a little bit here on a little bit of a pullback action. Doesn't mean that they're going to get destroyed, but it could be that pullback type of day after like 3 or 4 days last week with some good action.
Yeah, everything's kind of just feels like a lot of things are just paused right now.
Yeah, teetering, right? It's just like the balance right now is going back and forth, right? A lot of it just getting pushed by that tech run, but can it hold, right? Can it hold?
Yeah, there's a giant fight going on. So yeah, I've just marked up here again the first 1 minute range of the SPY. So this is the opening 1 minute range, and we're beating up against the high of it, but we just cannot break one way or another. So this resolution could be very interesting, and it's one of those that the tighter and the longer this goes on, the more it just shows that there is a pretty sizable battle with kind of fighting back and forth. Wisdom just asked, what website was I talking about? Just Forex Factory. Again, I've been at 20 some odd years, been going once a day to that website. It does a good job of just color coding. You see the red that is going on here. That means these are market moving events. So unemployment claims tomorrow, President Trump speaks tomorrow, and then some Japan type stuff. But just a very simple, again, not really anything that I see how they make money. They don't charge anything, but so we talk about that all the time. Just a great website to go, hey, let me take a look at what's happening today. Is it something that I want to get involved in or anything, anything like that, right? And so yeah, it's again 20 years. I just get up, go to Forex Factory, see what's happening. We're still basing We are now nearly 25 minutes into the trading session, and we are still basing within the first 1 minute range of the S&P 500. Very, very rare, and showing that I think one way or another we got something explosive coming in the next few minutes here, because we can't stay like this all day. It's the only thing I'll guarantee you guys. At some point, we're breaking the first 1 minute range off the open. I just don't know when that's going to be.
Yeah, right now I'm risking about $40 on this SoFi trade, looking to see if it's going to do the takedown through the 1760s. If it does that takedown, I could see this one being an all-day fader. So I'm looking at potentially this going down to 17 today. So I'm just trying to take a small risk here, about 10 cents for potentially maybe a 80-cent move down. So I might not hold it that whole 80 cents, but that's just what I can see on the daily chart. Easy move to 17 makes sense for me.
Yeah, we tried. we tried to break that first 1 minute range, and now, at least for now, looking like we're right back in it. So a nice scalp that would be interested if you were a scalper is, again, the high of this last 1 minute bar, and just say, hey, I'm going to get involved in there. My stop would go under that 1 minute bar, and just see if I can get a little bit of a scalp higher, because yeah, it does look like we're breaking here with some continuation going on. Again, the two trades I took, VATE hasn't moved, and ISSC also hasn't moved either way. So again, everything seems to
starting
be
to get a little
waiting.
push. Meta's interesting for me on the daily chart. I don't know if you see that, but it just seems to me like it's bunching up here, could start to get going there. MACD just crossed yesterday, actually on Friday. So looking to see if it takes out that high, 625. It's an interesting chart for sure.
Yeah, consolidating nicely. And if that starts to break, that's a good one just for the overall market. Right?
Yeah. And we know Zuckerberg was there watching.
Oh,
At
yes.
the inauguration.
Got
He got caught with his eyes
4K.
open.
Well, at least it proves he's human, right? So he's probably not
At
an
least
android
it
at this
does
point.
prove he's human, right? I thought he was a droid too. So
now it looks like we're trying to break this opening range. So if we can hold here for a couple candles, might be a nice move there.
yeah, no, definitely.
The Qs,
and Suzy Q, man, and Apple not doing bad either today. I know that when everyone starts to hate it, that's usually the day they start reversing it, man. At 220, man, seems to me like some big buyers stepped up there. Volume in on that 219.80, 4.2 million shares, 5 minutes into the market.
Ooh, yeah.
You know what I mean? This tells me a lot of times when I'm looking at levels like that, I look at the monthly, right? Not even the weekly, just the monthly support. Is that what they're looking at? To me, that's what I see there, right? Just monthly support over the last 6 months, right around here. And so if I'm a bigger time trader, institutional style, I probably have already been building at 220s. And I just got another opportunity to add to it for the beginning of the year. So I think to me that's a big undercut rally off of that 220 spot. I'll be watching to see if that gets taken out later in the day. If it does, that's a real takeout spot. But other than that, right now, I'm seeing that as maybe a potential turning.
So we got OKLO triggering here from the algo. Getting back. Remember, this line right here is right where the algo was saying to short. So far, hitting that, holding. So I'm going to watch this one over the next few minutes just to look to see if we get some sort of a pullback from that level. And then that's the idea to take a short. It's interesting.
Messing up my playbook plays, man. That's one thing that I've noticed the last 2 days. Doing some hard work on getting the playbook done, but not trading those names, right? Sometimes that can happen, right? Doing the hard work there, but look at CCJ looking pretty decent now. It just broke that 55, made a nice little run there to 55.70. We'll look to see if that can continue. The metals and minerals doing pretty well today, of course, shaking that GEV shake this morning, NNE all the way up there. Now SMR right off of that kind of VWAP, looking like it wants to maybe try to do a break here. We'll see what happens. Definitely just in the middle. Yeah,
so I'm just continuing to
Did I get cut out
Take
there? Yeah, I got cut out there at 1790 on SoFi, right on the
ah,
spot there. And that's just where you just kind of look away. I might have raised it to like 91 when it was right there,
mhm.
but it just how it goes sometimes.
So I did take that OKLO short.
All
So
right.
far that's now again, I'm paper trading these and risking just 1,000 to make them easy numbers. But when it's trade the pool money, I won't be risking $1,000 per trade. But yeah, because it hit that level, you can see the next kind of 1 minute, 1 minute bars, it kind of struggled at. So when it looked like it wasn't gonna hold, we go lower. So that's I put the stop right above the pre-market high, and that high, figure if that breaks, I'm wrong. So we've got that trade. The other two are just kind of not doing really much of anything. We have this ISSC. Now looking at this one and looking at the 1 minute bars here, this isn't something that I would actually trade. So it's just no volume is happening here. So this is just not worthwhile. So this is why we do this stuff and why we look at things in real time, because it's one thing to look at the back test and now it's like, okay, well, now I need to figure it. I got to up the volume in order to actually take the trades. So that's something that I need to, when we're done here, sit down and, with my tester and say, okay, let's crank up the volume to make sure that yesterday I had a little bit more action. Probably should have just known just by looking at the action that happened yesterday. And then also on VATE, this one's not working out, so it's going against me. But again, I'm watching the anchored view up from that kind of pump high, which is also lining up with the other idea there. So if we start to push lower, I just may add to this position as well, which is something that I'm going to look to play with. Is just adding is if we get to that second trigger, kind of like how the boss man Michael likes to do, where he likes to add into his positions as opposed to kind of all in and all out. So those are the ideas. We got three. Of course, I'm shorting into a market that looks like it's finally trying to go, uh, trying to break out here. But IWM, if we take a look at the IWM, that's not doing nearly as well. We've got the SPY doing well, and then IWM is fading. So continual underperformance on the IWM, which isn't shocking, right? These are small cap companies for a reason. That makes
Yeah,
any
I got
sense.
cut out there in SoFi and getting a little impatient there. Jumped right back in it here, guys. So we'll see what happens here. I was just a little frustrated there, and I could feel it. Got in there right there at the 73 for the break, and I was trying to hit the 1780s. I hesitated there for a second. It was already dropping there. We'll see if it breaks the low now, right? This chart just looks perfect. Really should have never even gotten out there at the 1790s. It just did a wick right above the VWAP. Should have given myself to the kind of the pre-market support, which was that 1801. That would have kept me into the trade here and be in the green, right? And so that where it was picking the wrong risk spot, right? Sometimes that's going to be the prior support, right? And I used it as a too close level. That got me out of the trade, essentially market maker just taking my money, right? And so now I just see it as a breakdown from this trend line. So I wouldn't want to see it back at the VWAP. So that's why I went after it there. 1780s is pretty much the risk. Wouldn't want to see it, let's say 1785, 1790s again. That would give it the push. But we did get some volume to come in right before the takedown where it popped back around the 1780s. I think that's where the big shorts are.
Yeah, so OKLO is continuing to fall here. So
There you go. There you go. Going for it.
another good one with the system. So that's encouraging, at
Yeah,
least for
it
now.
definitely is.
Knock on wood, right? So stop remains over high. Now it's one of those things where I got to start thinking about exits. Right now, again, I want to stay involved with these. These are supposed to be all day long plays, and scalping definitely isn't something that I'm interested in doing. Just because I know myself too much. So I'm watching here's the VWAP from the lows of yesterday. And this thing triggered and got into the system because of the wide range it did yesterday, the little bit of an overextension. So I'm going to watch that, and that's sitting around 31 bucks, which would be another almost $2 from here. I think that would probably be an area where I'd get out of a large majority of the position, just leave a runner on maybe for the rest of the day. But I could see us coming back and testing that 2-day VWAP, which may be the system that I put in place. The other guys aren't really doing anything, right? ISSC is going against me, and then this one I just actually added to a little bit because we got close to that second entry. So so far okay. So we need to see this thing fall. So the idea is now you can just set an alert and say, hey, if it gets to that price, let me know, and then go and focus on other things.
Moderna ripping today, 12% to the upside. Just want to note that NNE up about 9%. So definitely seeing NNE's strength there. That one's a frustrating one to miss again, guys. So sometimes it's very important, and it happens often sometimes when you're trying to look into too much of the market, right? I'm looking into different areas, missing NNE. What can I do to help things like that? Well, set the alerts on the Trade the Pool platform, right? That can definitely help you catch the run there on NNE and different names. But Moderna, strong.
Yeah, look at that chart just ripping. Mentioned this before, right? This thing has just been absolutely destroyed from $600 down to 30. So, I don't know how long this is going to continue, but you get these biggest bounce, right? The old trading saying the biggest bounces happen in bear markets. For Moderna, it's definitely a bear market out there. So I could expect some bounces to occur as we go here. Now, the 50 day is kind of right above us here at 43.50. That's still $3 from here. So you got a lot of room. And then the gap fill, which might be what a lot of people are watching, right? That's sitting around $42, which is still another $2 from here. So not a lot in the way of this kind of insane runner. Uranium continues, right? Uranium holding strong today. Semiconductors holding very strong. It's one of those days where the SPY is doing well and the Qs are doing well. And then we are getting things like the RSP underperforming a little bit. We're getting the IWM underperforming a little bit. So you can see this. We're flipping back and forth, Mitch, it seems, every day between this is a tech rally versus, right, tech's down and everything else is up.
Yeah.
So very great for short-term traders, right? You just got to be able to jump from theme to theme. Today seems like one of those tech days that tech's doing very, very well on. So OKLO continuing to fall here. So we're going to watch these lows, but yeah, the target is going to be like $31, which is going to be that 2-day VWAP. See if we come in and test that. I've just seen many times in my career, 2-day VWAP come back down, you hit that, and then you rally from there. So I think that's a pretty logical target for some of these ones as well.
All right, we'll look to see if I start to get that crackdown here in SoFi. I'm thinking about adding here, but it's taking a shot here. I'm right near my entry. I hate adding right here. I like to be a little bit up higher, like into the green, let's say 5 or 6 cents before I jump on this one. But the setup's there for me to add right now, and then just hold off the 9 EMA for the breakdown through the low. The big thing that's kind of a little concern is there's this big pocket right here at 1765. There's about, it seems like 53,000 shares just sitting there of SoFi. So I'm wondering what happens when we get to 1765, right? That's right here down towards the low. So we'll see if that gets taken out and we start seeing SoFi give up.
Yeah, it's really going to hinge a lot
one
on the market here. So, right, IWM came down to lows, put in a little 5-minute bounce. Looks like that could be coiling down. SPY still holding near highs, and then same with the Qs, still holding near highs as well. So I really think, especially when you're trading larger cap names, they're going to be much more correlated to the overall market. So it'll be interesting to see, because if you look at this and then you look at Mitch's SoFi, you can see the relative weakness, right? You don't need to be a CMT to go, okay, let's just focus on the open, right? 5-minute candles on the Qs, almost straight up. And then if you look at SoFi, right, 5-minute candles almost straight down, looks like we're breaking a new low. So that's how you guys identify relative strength, relative weakness. I think whether you're a swing trader, a day trader, an investor, the most important thing you can do, it's like what we talked about with a lot of these names. If the SPY and the Qs start to come down, you would imagine that SoFi is going to get hit way worse, because as the Q's been rallying up all day, the SPY is actually, or SoFi has actually been coming down. So it's like it's getting kind of propped up by the market. So if the market just gives up a little bit, then SoFi could give up a lot. So just good looking trade. And again, relative strength, relative weakness. If there's kind of one thing in the market that I think you could focus on and could exist forever, is again the relative strength, relative weakness, just because it makes perfect sense. What are they selling? What are they not selling in the market? So
All right, guys, we'll see what we get now and see what we can come up with. SoFi, I went for it there for the ad, and now it's already getting the bounce. So we'll see if it gets back above the 75s and gets towards the 80s. That would definitely get me out right now. Trying to keep it to like 45 to 50s here on the risk. First one was about 49 risk, and very similar risk here. Let's just see if we can finally get the down action or not. Watching XLF overall, and XLF is just broke the low and then bounce, right? And so now I need to see if it really comes actually down here and we start to get some follow through. One that I looked at that's interesting, Goldman Sachs is really hitting the lows, but then Morgan Stanley was up. So now I'm looking to see if Morgan Stanley is starting to follow Goldman Sachs action down, right? Those are both capital market names, and they usually run side by side. Very rare do I see them kind of going against each other. In this case, Goldman Sachs down, Morgan Stanley up.
Your meta on that daily chart is starting to look really interesting here.
Yeah, I just keep avoiding my playbook and not making money, man. The playbook 3 for 3 2 days in a row, and not trading any of it and not making money because of that, guys. Sometimes it's as simple as that, right? Daily look really good on Meta. AMD also with the hourly long pullbacks. I mean, we had another one today. Market opens, hourly long pullback to 22, right back up to 124. AMD's done this now 3 days in a row.
Yeah. No, a lot of these names are looking great, and that explains the performance in the Qs, right? If you're having Meta, you're having AMD, they're going well. Watching your SoFi again, it looks like we're challenging lows, even with the Qs doing well, right? So again, any kind of back off or any kind of give back on the Qs, you're probably doing pretty well in a lot of those positions, right?
Yeah, this 1765 little wall there. It's a pretty decent sized wall there. And then look right below it, 1763, now 30,000 shares waiting there. So they just separated that order out there. And you can't know for certain, but this was 60 and now it's 49 and 30s. It could be a bigger position there. Someone trying to hold up there. We'll see what happens. 1765, 1763, going to be big spots if they show up on the tape.
Yeah, we're continuing to hold strong in the overall market. The Qs new highs a day. We got the SPY new high of the day, and poor little IWM, poor little small caps hitting new lows. So again, another day to be really into those big guys and then really avoiding a lot of those small guys.
Does that just show maybe higher rates for longer? Is that what you think is happening in the IWM?
Yeah. Now, IWM's usually a dog because you kick out your best players, right? It's like imagine you're running a sports team. Every time someone gets a little bit too good, you go, no, you go over to the other team, right? That's what the IWM does, right? It keeps the junkiest names and then it kicks them out. So generally speaking, I don't like to read too much into it, but when you see a divergence this big, that's exactly what I think is going to happen, because those large cap tech guys, they don't care about interest rates. Apple loves high interest rates. They got so much cash that they're just making billions on just from interest rates. And yeah, the IWM is suffering a bit. So I think that could be. Now also, it's one of those things that it could be a tariff play too. Because again, Apple, Nvidia, a lot of these guys, they could shoulder a 10% tariff. They could shoulder a lot of these. It would hurt profits, but they'd be fine. But your IWM, your small caps, they're going to be more worried about, if 10% could be a lot for a lot of these mom and pop shops just to close their doors entirely. right? They're not able to withstand this in the way that a lot of these larger cap names are. So I think it's a lot of that. You generally get hit first. I use the IWM as a bit of a canary in the coal mine. Good example for that while we're chatting about it. Let's go to the weekly chart. So the IWM way back here in November of 2021. This is why when I started using IWM as canary in coal mine, we broke out and then just immediately crashed back down. This was before the bear market started. This kind of failure in the IWM. And then we go over to the SPY, and it was much, much later in like December, January, where it started to fall into the bear market. So the IWM did a really good sign of saying, hey, if your mom and pop shops are suffering, then eventually that trickles down to the rest of the economy. So, this is 1 day worth of action, but yeah, it looks like we're going to break new lows here on IWM, whereas the SPY and the Qs are just hitting new highs. So again, could be one of those times, right? OKLO hit that high. It's still below it, but it's kind of digging in a bit. So that's looking like it might not be the best play in the world, but we'll see on that one. And then let's just take a look at the SoFi real quick, coming back up to VWAP. So a lot of chop. I'm seeing out there.
A lot of chop. And SoFi's done this to me before, guys. And it's one of those names where it's kind of weird, but a lot of times when I trade it, it starts to slow down the momentum. And then I'll see it the next couple of days, and then it's making like $2 moves, right? This thing has been kind of ramping up a little bit, but now it's kind of not moving at all, right? I mean, even just yesterday, it moved at least $1.10, right? And so right now it's on, and the ATR is like at 85 cents, right? And right now it hasn't moved much. I mean, from the open, what has it been? 25 cents, 40 cents. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens there.
So no, it's an interesting market for sure. Let's go to, we haven't looked at the heat map in a while. Let's go a little bit more red, right? So it's interesting to note RSP here has just turned red. So RSP is your equal weight large cap. So showing the average large cap is down for the day, even though the S&P 500 is still up a lot. Uranium continuing to surge, continuing to lead the leaderboard and continuing to move higher on uranium. So we see uranium, we see semiconductors, and we see technology, XLK. So again, if you're in tech right now, you're having a good time. Anything else, you're not. ARK continuing to move. So I talked about, and I owned some of this, ARKK. Just looking at the daily chart here, broke out of this wedge. We go back a while, you can see there was a lot of resistance around this kind of $52, $53. We broke that. We consolidated around it. So yesterday I did buy a bunch of ARK, full disclosure. But the fact that ARK is up, but the average large cap is down, just says, hey, this is tech driven. Everybody wants their hands on tech. If you pretty much trading anything else, it's not interested, right? So make sure you are in a tech name if you want to be to the long side. If you want to be the short side, again, I think it's one of those that's kind of an anything. It's not an everything rally like we've seen the last couple of days. It is just a technology rally, and I'll put uranium in that kind of same bucket. But nice breakout here.
Taking a hit there in SoFi, guys, down about 239 on the day. So definitely taking a hit there, guys. And this is a clear example of just not trading what I was looking at to trade today. Not following my list. CCJ up on the day, Meta up on the day, NNE up on the day, Qualcomm up on the day, ARM up on the day, and then I trade SoFi. That's how it goes sometimes, guys.
Yeah, and that's what you should do as a trader. So you just make a note and you say this is what's going wrong, and write on your sticky notes or whatever it is you use for tomorrow, and say just focus on what's going on. Because it's very like I was looking at the quantum computing names, I was looking at some of the rocket names, not really many of them doing anything. So they're just kind of chopping around. So it's what I'm actually trying, and I can go back and show you guys this system that I'm trying, where it's basically just trying to alert me kind of above and below VWAP, and I'm using some ways to kind of test different settings here to see which is doing well and which is doing poorly, and then I'm putting in names that myself that I think have a chance to move. So a couple different ways to systematize your trading, and this is one that I'm trying as well. And you can see quantum computing moving lower, but took a long time to get there. LUNR, same thing, moving higher, but took a long time to get there. So none of these things are kind of exploding out of the gate in the way that people might be used to seeing. So yeah, it's something definitely have to keep an eye on when it going forward. If a lot of the themed quote unquote names aren't doing anything, then the overall market could be suffering. Now, when it comes to a lot of these quantum computers, I am looking to find options to trade these to the short side, because we talked about this a bunch. We were waiting for this dead cat bounce, and we were waiting for the dead cat bounce to fail at, for me, the anchored VWAP from the prior high. So you have a sell off, then you have a bounce. If you start to fail at that anchored VWAP from the prior high, then it kind of shows that people are using this bounce to get out of the positions they got stuck in. A lot of these things got cut in half, cut in third. So what I'm watching really, really closely is if we fade from there, if we fail from there, then I think that's an interesting place to potentially look to take a short. Now, I'm not going to short the common in these things. I'm not insane. So I'm looking for an options play in order to do that, because it's just one of those things that if I think the probabilities are to the downside, that's fine. But you don't want to just short something that has quantum computing in the name, especially these things are low float. One piece of news comes out and these things double in your face, and all of a sudden the $10,000 short position you're down 100% on. So yeah, that's how, if it's anything crazy like this and I want to get shorted, I will always express that somehow via options. I haven't really taken a look yet to see what the chains look like at all.
One stock that's holding a trend today, PDYN. That's I don't even know how the hell to say that. AI corporation. I'll show you PDYN.
YN?
Paladine AI.
Yeah, that's sure. It's better than I could do. So
it's better. It's better. We don't mess with these biotechs, and then let alone Paladine AI. But hey, a lot of these AI charts are looking like this right now. I can tell you that right now. I can show you like 2 or 3 of them really quickly. Like MBOT, look how they're kind of similar here. And that POAI, look how they're similar, right? Very similar charts. You don't think they're trading similarly? I mean, yeah, they are, man. They're very similar. And so I'd keep an eye out on all these. Seems like PDYN is the one that's leading the action right now above 11. We'll look to see if it stays hot. REKR, another one very similar space, software infrastructure. A lot of these names kind of holding on there. And then I was looking at a different one. A lot of the rich tech, robotics, those types of names. VSAT down today. That was up yesterday. So those are coming right back down. Looking to see if there's some other trends here. Black box, and another one. Just black box stock here. Right back at $3. Have you heard of this one?
I have not. What is this thing?
Black box stocks, bro.
Sure. Black. Let me look it up.
It's like, what the hell does this company do?
The ultimate tool for traders. Oh, there
you didn't know? You didn't know?
It's the ultimate one.
The ultimate.
They still have their Christmas special up on their main page. That's kind of scary. It's the end of
I'll tell you one thing. February. I don't know what the hell happened, but there's 59 million shares traded today.
I bet you it's
isn't that much on this. Oh, look at PDYN. Just got a nice pop there. It's talking about how these are all kind of going side by side. PDYN. Now there's the pop to 1150. So off that 11 gave you an opportunity there. Yeah, man. I'm having one of those weeks where I'm seeing things, not trading it well. Clearly can happen when you see things, but just not executing it well. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of right now. PDYN, definitely one that's starting to get moving. Now I take a look to see if the other ones start to get going, right? Leader laggard style trading. MBOT starting to push off of that $2 holding sideways, right? That POAI, another one that's very similar. Let's see if it can get back above $2. PDYN, taking the lead right now, up there now towards 1160. So good push there.
Yeah, sorry, I got trapped in this black box stocks. Very
Oh
interesting.
man, SMST showing up on the scanners. So that's a 2 leverage MSTR short, doing pretty well
Ooh.
today.
Oh, who was saying MSTR is
Yeah,
dead
my
in the
man,
chat?
and he said watch for the 390 rejection. Not a bad rejection there, going right back towards the 380s there. MSTR looking pretty heavy.
Yeah,
What's with
this
the AI names, man? CXAI now going to $2. I mean, there's a theme there, guys. There's a
was that
theme.
TEM, that one from yesterday is looking interesting
AI
here.
itself, just C3 AI, Tempest.
Yeah.
We'll see if that one gets going.
It's a little bit of a rounded bottom kind of look here on the intraday, and TEM came in to close the gap at about $50. Looks like it might be trying to get back above that $50 mark. If you want to trade momentum on this name, that might be not the craziest thing. If you think Nancy's going to have your back here, right?
No one bring up SoFi tomorrow, man. I have a
Oh,
feeling
no.
I'm gonna look back. It'll be at like 16 tomorrow, and I just kind of messed that one up. And that can be kind of time frame, right? In not using bigger time frames, right? Bigger time frames could maybe help me to a smaller share size, risking off the 18s, and then try to see if I can get that later than day breakdown. We'll see what happens.
TEL crossing view app. Why did I put this one on the list? Oh, some sort of earnings play on TEL. So this is I don't even have a back test to show you guys in this one. This is very early stages, but the idea is you get gaps or massive moves in one direction, and then you wait for the VWAP break and kind of confirmation on the other side. And then again, the idea is going to be you're going to try to take that into the multi-day VWAP. But this TEL was massive move all the way up to 156, and now it looks like it's kind of fading here. Again, not something I'm even going to paper trade. I got way more work to do than that. And some of the other things I'm watching, pretty much everything is kind of flat to down. NNE, right, is basing right at highs. I'm using this as kind of a proxy for OKLO, and it's falling back a bit. It's good to look at the competitors. So OKLO is about right at my entry price. SMR struggling a little bit as well, but uranium maybe pulling back. So still looking okay down on them, but I'm taking a look at the Qs. I'm taking a look at the SPY. Everything's putting in a little bit of red action, a little bit of give back after a really strong open. So it'll be interesting to see on these names what happens when and if they get to the VWAP of the day, right? Anchor a VWAP from there. That's 530, so almost $2 down the Qs. Do we get there? Do we hang in? I just want to kind of remind everyone, like, if you look at especially on the spot, look at this daily candle, it's still very, very tiny. We haven't done very much today, butting up against these prior highs. So there's going to be a lot of these situations, a lot of emotions, a lot of people fighting when we're back up at these prior all-time highs. Right? There's a lot of people who maybe were in there and got nervous when it fell down and they want to get out of their position, so they're sellers. Maybe a lot of people that are shorting in front of this, they could be sellers as well. So could be a wall that we're getting into here on the SPY. A little bit of back and forth action there wouldn't surprise me at all. But if we rip through, there's a lot of people caught off guard. So very, very closely watching the SP 500 here on the daily chart.
RCAT back above VWAP. I'm looking at the quantum names here just to see how they're setting up. There is some recoveries here that kind of take a look at, whichever way you want to play, right? Up or down, right? IonQ is still in the lows. That leans me a little bit more to the downside here. But you never know when it could recover 12 here on QUBT and start to push. Daily, it's like right off of there. So let's see what happens now. It's already done some bearish action. It came back to VWAP. I'll look to see if it rejects here. We'll see what happens. IonQ down 4%. And that black box, man, that black box.
I was looking at that.
It got a little spike there, man. I might play this one. I mean, The volume tells me there's probably a float rotation in this.
Yeah, it could be one of these low floaters that are just going
Yeah,
wild.
I mean, when you see a stock trade like it is right now, a little bit, I'm actually gonna take a shot here, guys, on the smaller count. Yeah. That was like a millisecond difference between 320s or 312s. Got 312s, baby. Let's go. Literally a
Jeez,
millisecond difference. Like
what a wild
we're
mover.
talking millisecond, right? So right now, I'll show you guys it on the chart here. I'm gonna pull it up here right on the trade the pool platform, so you guys can see the charting. And so you can see here what I was looking at was just the trend line. So it came back to the trend line, and I was like, all right, well, I'll just take the shot off the trend line here. Let's see if it really wants to just rip out. So this was that trend line that I could see. I was just visualizing it, right? So as soon as it cut down into that area, I was like, okay, well, I'll take a shot right off this low here and see what happens now. Now I can see if it goes right back to 36, right? That's like the easy move. The easy move is right here, and it's already up 120, $100. So if I could get it back to like 350s, I wouldn't mind just taking the money and run. Let's see what happens here in the smaller account with black box stocks.
Now that you're a shareholder, you should email them and tell them Christmas is over, and they should take the Christmas promotions and everything off their website. It's a little bit late there, guys.
A little late. Hey, who knows? Maybe they haven't come back from the holidays. It's been that good of a run.
Well, they'll be happy to see their stock price if this thing holds back
man.
after that move.
It's crazy out there. We'll still see if MBOT and some of those other names kind of make a move today. I've seen so many AI names showing up on those scanners. So just to kind of put the perspective out there, I think definitely that's an area to watch, right? Not just Tempest AI, but anything AI related. And what I'm talking about mainly lately is look for things that are related more to the infrastructure of AI than necessarily kind of AI itself. That's what I like now. And I think that's what grows this year.
Yeah. Someone mentioning Mara. Just take a second, take a look at the chat. So someone's taking a look at Mara, falling a little bit here. One thing I'll say about these, I used to be massive into trading these crypto miners. I made a killing a couple times on Mara because it had massive short floats, and then Bitcoin would rally 20% and Mara would double. I got a couple doubles out of it. It's just insane. That's changed now, and for two reasons. One, the ETFs. The other, Monster, right? And I worked for a crypto miner for a while there, way back 2000. I know, way back 2017, 18. The budding, generation of crypto. It is a rough business. It is capital intensive. It is labor intensive. It's all that. So I think what happened, and the reason it's not getting going, because Bitcoin's not doing bad at all today, just backing off a little bit. And then we have Mara looking like it's going to hit new lows. So what I think's going on here is, again, people have other places in the stock markets to take crypto related bets. Before, it was the crypto miners. If you were bullish Bitcoin, but like myself, you have most of your money inside of a broker and there was no actual way to take the trade, you would go into Mara and you would go into all these names. Now I'm looking at it as, why not trade Monster, right? Why not trade just the Bitcoin ETFs? Soon there's going to be double and triple leverage ETFs, which is just hilarious. But I think that's kind of what's going on here. Now, Mara has a plan. So this may actually change for Mara a little bit soon, where they're going to try to do the same kind of Ponzi that what MicroStrategy is going to do. I don't think it's going to work for them as much, because part of being really good at a Ponzi scheme is that you have to have kind of the name behind it, right? You have to have people that are believing you and buying into this kind of idea. And I just don't know if Mara has that. So this is one that I've been watching to buy some puts on for a while. That's kind of my reasoning, my rationale behind Mara is I think if we break down, especially this trend line right here, this thing could be doomed. But I miss the days of, I got a couple. Right? Oh, you can see the trade. I actually drew out the trade right when I took it way back here. Right, I remember I bought this breakout at $11, and the thing just shot to $20 in a straight line. Gave me no reason to exit. So, yeah, I miss the days, but I think they might be over for some of the miners. Just because there is other ways for traders and investors to take a bet on the crypto space while not having to actually buy the coin itself. Right. And then that's what Mara was. It was a way to, I'm bullish Bitcoin, but I have no way to, especially if I'm a large hedge fund or institution, I'm not transferring millions of dollars over to Kraken or whatever. I'm just going to do it in the market where I'm kind of protected and regulated. So for me, again, until the Ponzi's over, MSTR is a good one. And then you could just do like an IBIT or something like that if you wanted just to trade the ETF itself. Soon, again, double ETFs are coming out, and there's going to be options on those double leverage ETFs on crypto, which is just insane. But hey, what could go wrong with that much leverage floating around the system?
All right, got that pop in the black box, baby.
I gotta let me.
Dude, I'm gonna make a black box on my desk if I win on this. We're gonna create the black box of stocks itself. I'm just gonna put a box, and I'm gonna put a magic 8-ball in it.
But like, look at this. This is the this is their website. They've got Christmas hats on. They're still talking about their holiday sale. That's a little slightly worrisome.
Let's
me,
go.
Right?
Let's go.
But
That thing had a wick up to 350. I'm trying to get it through the highs here. Let's see if it really ramps. It could go to 4. I mean, I'm trying to see the float continue to trade like it is. The float, I mean, it is rotating here. Let me try to get a kind of a recent float on this one.
I'm bringing up trade ideas here.
Yeah, like floats are sometimes they change all around, but let's see. I got 2.5 million. Yeah. You think that it's rotating the float? Yeah. 69.8 million shares traded. This is what those big gurus and gurus talk about with the stock like this, right? This is the classic Timothy Sykes type of stock, right? This is literally the strategy they teach on that. So let's see what happens, right? When you can rotate the float 2-3 times, and in this case, but we're doing
70 times.
yeah, you can definitely move a stock, right? And it at this point, it's more technicals than fundamentals. Fundamentals just crumble them in a paper ball, find your nearest trash and toss it in there because it's not going to matter, at least today. It might matter more on the Christmas sales. We'll see what happens with this one.
They secured.
What's up with Twitter in this one? I'm going to look on the streets and Twitter streets with black blocks.
Yeah, so just to explain, so for those who don't know with Mitch, when we say float rotation, so this entire company is worth $11 million, right? The whole thing is like 11 million, which for a company is just absolutely nothing, right? Tiny company. So it has traded $200 million today. So the whole company's worth 11, and then $200 million has been traded in this name today. So if you think that any of this is legitimate, it's the entire. So imagine we are all sitting in a room and we passed the whole company around the room 70 times. That's what's going on. So there's nothing fundamental about what's going on here. It's literally a game of musical chairs that could have been started by any chat room out there, and will continue until that chat room, the guru sells all of his shares and then dumps it on his unsuspecting.
So what I do is instantly I hit the streets, right? The Twitter streets, right? You can just search the ticker and then start to get what's up there, right? And you start to see what Tiger Line trading here. Small cap trader. When I see small cap trader in the profile, that already gives me a sign to head for the hills. But Playbook trades. So you see, it's not just one person. They're all looking at this, and they're looking at very similar setups that I'm watching, right? And that's what just goes to show you guys, when they're looking at similar setups, you're not the only one, right? Parabolic scan here, putting it out an alert an hour ago, right? I mean, this is how you get things to start showing up on people's radars. This is how you get those float rotation. Black box stocks secured there's an anticipation of a potential merger. That's looks like the rumors out there of potentially $5 floor. So yeah, that will get some people starting to look at this. Look at the rip now, guys. Getting a nice rip on this black box stock here. Let's take a look at the action. Up there now about 150 here, guys. At this point, I got to go ahead and sell a little bit here. At least a little tiny bit here, guys. I'm going to sell 250 on this nice push right here. Look at that push. Boom, just sold it there, guys. Sold a little bit there. Sold out half of it now and looking to see if this gets into the first halt. So this is really pushing now. And this just looked to me when I saw the volume, like, I mean, look how it's falling off there. Somebody sold big at 370s. This is why I have my scanner, my time in sales here to the right, looking for big sales here throughout. And I'll start scanning. There it is, 8,000 right here. 8,000 going through there at the 340s there. So someone hit the out there. And that's why sometimes we'll change the sizing here on the filter. On the right-hand side, I'll be like, okay, so this one's trading with bigger size. Let's filter out to 3,000. So I'm only looking at now, it'll only show me orders that are going through that are 3,000 and bigger, right? So I can catch maybe that 20, 30, or 10,000 share order to just put me on alert, right? At this point, I already took some cash here, so I can just hold break even on the rest. Look to see if we can get up into a halter and a rip towards 4.
Yeah, and it's one of those, again, as much as we kind of joke about it, they're great. You know, again, George Soros' famous saying, if I see a bubble, I run right in. And that's what this kind of thing is. It's got pumped by some room somewhere.
It's pumped, for sure.
Right? Everyone got excited. Eventually, these will come to the end, just like your meme coins or whatever it is. But it doesn't mean that there's not money to be made while it's happening. Now, it might be one of those things that when it goes, could be a great short. That would be a harder trade, I think, to make. But yeah, you're just trying to, hey, if the gurus are going to get involved and they're going to start pushing this thing around, why not have a little bit of fun with them? Just make sure you're not the last to the exit. Same with meme stocks, same with meme coins, the whole 9 yards, right? Nothing, you can trade whatever you want as long as there's enough liquidity to get your fill, and as long as you sized it correctly. Those are the only two requirements I ever have for taking a trade, because anything else is just kind of fugazi, right? You can take your trade whenever you want.
Yeah, now at this point, you guys see the stop place, right? I have a protective stop. No matter what, I'm going to win on this position. These are those kind of positions where, since I don't know where the momentum is going to, I can just let it work for me. One of the biggest things that I'd like to see is now in a 15-minute, you can see this trend line, right? We broke that trend line. Pullbacks to that make sense for throwback ads. And then I'm looking to see if you can take out that pre-market high, right? That's 382. If I can get a candle to close above this trend line, I'll be feeling good. And I can continue from that point, just watching that trend line and making sure that we don't close below that, right? Below that, I could also take the money and run, right? So we'll see what happens. And this is why I also have the countdown on my timers. You guys can see this on the bottom right. You guys can set this up in your chart settings. You want to put the countdown. That helps me. So a lot of times I always look in the last kind of like, say, for a 15-minute, the last 5 minutes mattered more to me. And on 5 minutes, the last kind of 2 minutes and a half matter more to me. On a 1 minute, the last 30 seconds matter more to me. And I look at these countdowns a lot of the times to wait for the close and the next candle to show.
That's Charles Taoism from, the 1800s. The guy would always say, right? The closing price is the most important price. Oh, they're going.
Look at that. Now the 380s, guys. Let's see if we can get into a halter. Ooh, 403 on a spike there. Somebody sold.
That's the thing with a lot of these gurus.
Oh, right here. Look at this. Look at this.
Orders. Yeah.
Look at this. This is the guru right here. This is the classic guru order right there. 385. 25,000 shares. He wanted to get 26,000. He didn't get filled all of it. 10,899. That tells me more and more that was a partial fill, and a 15,000 share buy at 385. So that's like a classic, and I'll just got to say it, man. That's a classic Ross Cameron trade, man. I've traded with Ross too much to know when he trades things, man. I used to try to be faster than him, right? I'm up 216 here, guys. I need to pay myself. Let's pay myself here half of this, right? So, boom. All right, guys, just paid myself some there at the 390s. Now can just let the rest work. right? It doesn't even matter now. It's like the remainder 125 can just let this account push. Remember, this is one of those limited accounts, right? I'm up now $400, $500 on this. I only need to get to $1,200. So almost 50% of the account. And sometimes this really helps me having two accounts, right? Because I'm going to attach this and I'm going to bring the whole platform to kind of show you. This is why I think it's important to have multiple accounts sometimes. And you hear it mentioned from Michael too, right? Because so this is that small limited account, right? But if I go to my main account, right, that one I also have closer to 50%. I've been struggling today on that one. So what did I do? I just put it to the sideline. I'm down 225. I'm like, you know what, Mitch, you're not seeing things right. Get off of it. Go looking and go trade other strategies if you're not being able to execute. So that's why I said, you know what, just go back to the limited and push on that. Yesterday made about 200. Now already got 400, right? Up 225. And I could take another 100 right here, right? At some point, I'm probably going to take the money and run. But I'm looking to see if we can get in that, at least into that first halter, because this stock is pushing, guys.
Well, and yeah, especially with these names, these get stupid, like just
Yeah, they could
absolutely
get
dumb.
Yeah,
Because
and with 125 shares, next thing you know, I could be making $300-$400. I could get the account on this one name, right? I'm not saying I'm gonna get it, but I think some points you tell yourself, what is the profit that I'm okay with today? 220 profit. Yesterday you made 200. I could be okay with that, right? Now I'm playing with the house's money.
Well, and especially, yeah, you have the confidence now to go for the guts. You have the if it was me, to be honest, I would walk away and I would set an alarm for 10 minutes before the close and just kind of see what happens.
Yeah,
Because
that's that type of stock. That's that type of
because
stock that
it's like I'm either gonna make worst case scenario, I make $200. Best case scenario, I'm gonna go for a walk with the dogs. I'll check on this like probably at noon and at the end of the day because it could hit this could hit 10. It could hit
yeah,
more than that, right? Again, just the fact that the floats are that low. Now you never want to do that with just an initial trade, I don't think, because
no.
again they can tank as much, but because Mitch has secured a big amount of money from it. He's happy with the amount of money that he's made already.
Yeah.
When you're at that, you're playing with the house's money. I think you definitely have to just kind of have that moment of, all right, do I just let this thing go? Do I let this thing work? And then, regardless of what happens, I'm happy knowing that the probabilities are you're getting stopped out. Right. That's I would say, more than a 50-50 shot that it comes back, gets the Furu is done for the day. Right, he hits the sell button, he dumps it on everybody, and it's this weird company that's not updated from Christmas goes back where it was. Or again, you get a nice move out of it, and like you mentioned, you got that account. So it's all about risk reward. Your risk is settled, right? You don't care about your risk anymore, so it's all about the reward after that.
Yeah, and in this this is a classic stock to go higher with the rotation of flow, right? And so the one thing that I want to see is this thing just keeps chugging along, chugging along. Look how the volume actually got to the highest right now. Not at the lowest, it's at its highest right now. And so that's signs of what? Traders trading it. There's profit taking, there's new trades being happen, but it's trading like ever, right? And when you have a stock that has a 2 million flow and you trade it on a 15-minute and it gives you 19.6 million, I mean, yeah, they're moving this thing. They're moving it. I'm sure the people at Black Box don't know what the hell is going on.
No, it's 89, almost 90 million shares today. So 45 times the float has changed hands, and nearly $300 million has changed hand on this stock that's only worth $11 million. So, many, many times the value of the company has just been passed around this room. Often, I think what's happening in this name is you're getting a lot of shorts that come in. They're looking at this, they're saying, this is, nonsensical. Let me short it. But then it rips. Those shorts have to cover, and then or they short more, and so on and so forth. So you can get these intraday, even though we look at the short float and it's only 10%. You can get these intraday short squeezes where things just go absolutely bananas, just over and over and over again.
Interesting charts out there. I'm looking around. An interesting one for me is this SDGR. I don't know what the type of volume it has, but the chart looks weird. It's a nice little kind of like sideways pattern there. It's too low volume. That's why. It's one of those by appointment onlys.
Schrodinger, like a
But
cat.
the trend's the trend, man. And I like this one. Bollinger Band expansion, all moving averages were sideways, long consolidation just broke. Interesting name, right? These are one of those names that you never even heard of, but hey, 1.4 billion cap too. It's not a small one. That's just
Yeah, that's almost big enough to get into the IWM. So it's not like one of these. It's not like black box. It's not a little
speaking of
tiny.
black
Who
box,
knows?
it's moving, baby. The black box almost 450 now, guys. I'm almost making the same amount of money that I made on the 250 shares. So once it gets close to 5, I want to sell some here. So let's go ahead and set that up here.
You're not gonna just
Why?
close the
Because
platform and see what happens.
I want to, but I have to pay myself. I'm that type of trader, right? We're the type of traders also that we understand what is starts to get extreme here. To me, 490s is more than extreme there. So I'm willing to take the 480s here to take a little bit off of it. Not a lot. I'm just trying to take a little bit more. It just hit 496, so it might not even get back there. I'm going to take some off there, guys. I just took a little bit off there, paying myself another, 121, right? So, hey, I'll tell you what, I don't mind stacking that up, right? Right around the same price, right? So I'm letting less shares make me the same amount of money. So 250, maybe 121, 125, 101, 75, 121, right? And so essentially just taking off that gives me the ability to stay in control and feel like I'm in a position of what? Strength. This is what matters with penny stocks. This is what most traders cannot do. They can't get into these positions of strength, right? Majority of penny stock traders, they're just either underwater, or they get a quick move up and they sell really quickly. They can't even get to that position of where they actually have like where the market's on your side, essentially, right? Like at this point, I'm so far from the action at 312 and we're trading up close to $5. Should I really be worried about 312? Not necessarily. I can focus more on what's happening right now, right? Sometimes I look at these like, how could I get into this trade right now if I wanted to take the trade? I'd have to look for 9 EMA attempts wash. That's what I look at a lot of times when I'm looking at these, that 9 EMA, right? And you can see the light blue line and how we're starting to respect that on this up motion, right? So it's touched the line once over here, twice, 3 times. A lot of times on that 4th touch, we start to break it. So at this point, I'll be starting to watch to see if we close below the 9 EMA to tell me signs of getting out, right? So another way to do it is just like Michael says, at this point, I could just leave the remainder and just walk away, right? And you find out later in the day, you got stopped out or not, right? And what I usually do is I give myself a little bit of some slippage cushion. So like, let's say I have 312, I'll set 320s, set it and forget it, baby. Let's go. We're going to set it and forget it, guys. It's the crock pot now. It's going to slow cook now, guys. So we'll see what happens on this one, guys. I'm going to leave it going, guys, because $50 is not going to do much to me, right? But if it goes to $6, $7, well, and then it starts to be another 100, right? Another 100. That's what I'll be looking for. All right, guys, that's it for the black box, at least. Do want to go and do at least a little segment today here. So let's do a little bit of that segment action here coming up right now. Michael, how about you take a look into the overall market? I know I haven't been too much on top of that. So let us know what's going on there, and then we'll get into a little segment here.
Sure thing. So we're going to start with the heat map. As always, more red continuing to creep up here, right? It started out just a little bit of red today, more and more red as things are going. It's not horrible, right? But it's just showing you that URA doing fine, NLR, which is another uranium nuclear stock, and SMH are all our high ones, and then everything else is kind of suffering. So just showing more of that big cap tech is the name of the game today. So we have the Qs coming down a little bit, but still close to their highs. And then we have the SPY coming down a little bit close to their highs. IWM has been bleeding through its lows. So where the big cap names is kind of holding us up, IWM, the small caps, not doing so well. So very much same with MDY, which is our mid caps. That's 2 to 10 billion, is at lows as well. So very much you're in some giant names like a Meta, and that's doing fantastic, or you're in an ARM that's doing great. If you're not in these names, you're not nearly having as fun of a day as you were before. When we've been seeing this flip, we've been talking about this, where some days it seems like, hey, you got to be in energy, and that's the theme for a couple days, and then it's okay, you got to go back to tech, and that's the theme for a couple days, and so on and so forth. So as these things continue to kind of shift around, that's one of those that you need to bounce around with them. But right now it is all uranium, it is all tech, or you're having a pretty bad time. So of course, one of the names that came from my algos today was uranium, because of course it was. But yeah, it's one of those, that's just the theme. Everything else is kind of secondary from there. So yeah, OKLO hitting new highs, which is not obviously what I want to see, but just going to ride out the systems as they go.
All right, team, we're going to have a little bit of some fun time, guys. I'll need you guys to wake up out there. So let's talk a little bit about trade or fade. I've been trying to bring in these fun kind of interactive segments where you guys get to run the show. So today we're playing trade or fade, and I'm going to give you guys the setup here. And you guys let me know if I should trade it or just let the opportunity go here, guys. So you guys out there, let me know, should I get after Qualcomm setup here, guys? This is a nice little setup right on the VWAP. So I was looking for a standard setup for me, right? Like a nice, easy setup. So to me, this is a nice, easy setup, right? It's a 15-minute chart, and you can look at this on the 15 or the 1, right? Whatever time frame you're on. It's a break above resistance, a pullback closer towards the 9 EMA on the 15, which it could might mean a better entry, right? That 169.80s. So a slight undercut of the 170 seems to make sense for me. Right now, what have we done? We've cut a couple of times towards that 170. So I'm looking for that slight undercut here, and then the rally to come back here. What do you guys think about this setup? Let me know in the chat. Should I trade it or fade it? What are you guys thinking in the chat? Wake up out there. Let me know. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one.
I was watching it. I brought up on a daily chart here as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I won't taint the audience, but I definitely have my thinking here.
All right. Well, I hear out there, pinkies up. So ready to go. Trade it with a third of the position sizing. So just take a feeler, was them pretty much saying out there. And not a bad thing to say, right? I mean, at the end of the day, the market has slowed down a little bit here. And it seems like we're in a little bit of some sideways consolidation, but at the top end of the range, right? Now, I think you just have to wonder, could it keep going? And the SPY and Q look very similar. Top end of the range pullbacks on the 15 minutes and are approaching those supports right now. So we'll see if we can catch another run there. There's that dip into the 169.90 area. So in the 15 minute, that's that light blue line that it starts to get hit, 169.81, right? Now we're starting to get to that spot there. So for me, what I look at, and I've had a trader tell me this before, sometimes if you're looking at that type of trade, why not set the entry where you think you'd set the stop right there? So to me, instead of entering right there, I'm going to look for the stop action. To me, that's 169.50 on a quick wash action here. So if it gets to that 169.50, I'm going to trade it, guys. Trade it. The chat said trade it. Well, we'll get to it right now. Let's see if we get that quick little dip and recovery action, right? So let's see if we get that back towards, let's say, the 60s or the 50s here, somewhere in that range. Don't mind taking a little shot here.
I love that quote. I've heard it a few times of set your entry where you would normally set your stop. I think it's a great idea because, I try not to do anything that will let people put kind of a tinfoil hat on, but because a lot of people out there, it's like, oh, they're looking at my order to stop loss chase. And it's like, no, they're not. They don't care about your couple hundred share order. But if everybody is setting an order at the exact same place, the market knows that, and the market says, okay, well, if I know there's a whole bunch of stop loss orders at this price and I'm looking to get long, maybe I'm going to do a spoof or something to try to get it at that price to flush a bunch of people out. I'm going to get in there. So that's why things like very obvious high of day, low of days, I guess the perfect example is kind of right here on the SPY on the daily chart. Is that right? That's, I think, the perfect example. I did a whole video about this recently on bear traps. They force it under to get all these bears kind of involved and ready to go, and then they, that's where they use the liquidity to buy. So I like that. It becomes, I think, a little bit complicated because it's like, where do you put your stop loss if you're buying where everyone else gets stopped? But I do like it in principle, is to say, okay, how do I get involved in X, Y, and Z, just to try to either fade what the masses are doing, or to try to get on the sides of the institution. If they're going to do a liquidity flush, well, I can do that too, kind of thing. So,
Well, I told you guys, don't bring up SoFi, but I looked at it.
oh no, Mitch.
Oh, it's one of those days, guys. It's one of
Yeah.
those days. Like I told you, seeing it right, but not executing right. Two different things, right? And that's what, at the end of the day, you can see it right. You got to trade it right, right? And in this case, too big of sizing, causing me two cutouts there of SoFi, one bigger than the other. And in this case, losing on a position that was essentially a winning trade, right?
Yeah.
And then those are the ones that can get you the most frustrated, right? Because it was a good looking trade there, just bad execution on my part. We're at the 1730s now, starting to lose some altitude. And for me on the daily, it just made sense to hit 17. I think it can even get back to the 9 EMA, but 17 seemed like a good target. Yesterday's low action around 1689. So then you put the candle today that it wicks higher than yesterday's high, and then the close below yesterday's close to yesterday's low, right? And so it kind of sticks it in the middle there, the body, right? And I think that this is the type of trade that I like on extension, where it goes through the prior day's high and starts to turn around. Similar trade right here. It's just a trap, essentially, in the pre-market. It makes things look really good, and then all of a sudden it starts to come right back down.
All right, so I took another shot. So here's my original OKLO trade, right? Buy short right here. Looked good for a while, and then just came back and stopped me out. Pretty much break even, give or take. I'd lowered my stop. And then now it came up to, even though the entry price for the algorithm is about 33.80 or so, I was looking at this prior high, and it kept dancing around this pre-market high, which is, again, the exact price that we were looking at. And when it looked like it's going to fail there, I've taken a second shot. So again, I don't mind taking two shots on these. So far, it's looking good, but we'll see. But that's just another idea that I had on that OKLO. That ISSC, I just killed because, like I mentioned, I should have just looked at this action. This is where human discretion should get involved in algorithmic trading. I should have just looked at this action, saw gaps on the 5-minute chart and everything, and said, that's just not a thing that I want to take. So, so I got out of that about break even. And then this one, I had one break even trade. And now that it's selling off, I'll probably lower my stop to the high of the day here. So risking way less than the algo would. And then again, trying to target this, which would be a couple bucks away, which would be a nice gain. So yeah, one shot didn't work. Take another shot, see if it works out, and if I can get involved in this name again, that the systems were looking to short. So again, the idea here was pretty simple. It's looking at a couple different indicators, stochastics mainly, and this Williams percent R, and it's saying, okay, we are oversold on both of those and to the extreme, so we're going to look to reverse. And you can see the other couple times it happened was right here. Right, that would have been a pretty decent trade, at least for a day trade. And then a couple times that it would have happened, you would have gotten a good day trade here. So again, a pretty simple system. And then the systems that I'm working on is just looking for overextended charts on the daily, and then trying to kind of fine tune the profit taking coming in from there. But continual work in progress. So
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us today. Like always, guys, smash the like. The dogs are barking. That means it's our time to go, man. And we'll see you guys back, like always, tomorrow. Stay tuned, guys. We got a lot more for you guys. We're going to be diving into tomorrow, guys. We'll be taking a look into, of course, the kind of the jobless claims, and that's going to be coming in. So we'll take a look at that. We'll do a little bit of an in-depth analysis and taking a look at how you guys can be watching jobless claims to show you guys trends. I know Michael's big on that. He'll be watching things like that. And then throughout the show, we'll look at trending tickers and how you could have traded those top 3 tickers. So don't miss tomorrow's show. That's going to do it for us today. Thank you, Michael. Like always, we'll go ahead and sign out and appreciate you guys like always. Don't worry, Steph. I'm in your camp today. We did it together. Hey, sometimes we win and lose together, right? And that's just the way it is. Was able to at least win a nice small stock black box. We'll see whatever happens to that thing. I don't even want to look at it. I know it pulled back off of 5, but remember the PR that was out there, right? The merge, supposedly $5. So that's another reason why I was like 5, maybe look to sell at that. We'll see if it gets back up there. Doesn't mean it's dead now. Still have some ways to go on that one. We'll see what happens. See you guys back tomorrow. Michael, any last words?
No, just walk away from that black box. Who knows? You might be onto something. Just you've locked in enough, Mitch.
Hey, it's like when the plane goes down, right? You got to go searching for the black box. I guess the black box is searching for me today. We'll see if it's able to get me or not, guys. We'll see you guys back tomorrow. Hit the like.